Chapter 2538. Good, very good, very good. Mobile phone. Yang Zhaokai took a deep breath and regained his composure. This was in front of the fifth prince's residence, Yang Yiming's territory, with Ningyu and Ao Xing around. Even if Qin he was a rank for quasi-emperor, he would not be able to gain any advantage. Completely shedding all pretense of cordiality at this time was an extremely unwise move for him. An emperor-level medicinal pill, he could take it out. He flicked his wrist. An emperor-level medicinal pill appeared in Yang Zhaokai's hand. Waving the emperor-level medicinal pill in his hand, Yang Zhaokai said coldly, "By Yu Tian, I can give you the medicinal pill, but you have to kneel down and kowtow to me." Crash! Yang Zhaokai's words immediately caused a commotion among the surrounding martial artists. Kneel? Bai Yu Tian was a rank for quasi-emperor. To make a rank for quasi-emperor kneel, and in front of so many people. To think that Yang Zhaokai could say it. Everyone guessed that unless Bai Yu Tian was an idiot, he absolutely would not kneel to Yang Zhaokai. Evidently, everyone guessed correctly. Bai Yu Tian was not an idiot. He was a rank for quasi-emperor. He had dignity. Humph! Don't be so shameless. Bai Yu Tian snorted coldly and said fiercely, "Today, hand over the emperor-level medicinal pill, and I can let you go. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble." Boom! As he spoke, Bai Yu Tian suddenly displayed the aura of a rank for quasi-emperor, frantically pressing towards Yang Zhaokai. Chi! Chi! How terrifying was the aura of a rank for quasi-emperor! Yang Zhaokai only had peak heaven receiving realm cultivation, and naturally could not withstand it. Cracking sounds came from his knees, making Yang Zhaokai feel like he was about to kneel. Courting death. Seeing Bai Yu Tian so impudent, Qin he snorted coldly, wanting to stop him. However, just as Qin he was about to make a move, two auras locked onto him. Ao Xing, Ning Lu. Without a doubt, these two auras came from Ao Xing and Ning Lu. Whether it was Ao Xing or Ning Lu, in a one-on-one situation, they could perfectly suppress Qin he. With the two of them present, how would Qin he dare to make a move? Therefore, Yang Zhaokai bent his knees, gradually wanting to kneel. Enough! At this moment, Ningyu waved his hand at Bai Yu Tian and said indifferently, "You can leave first. I'll talk to the 18th prince." Yes. Bai Yu Tian immediately withdrew his aura and responded, retreating behind Ningyu. Bai Yu Tian panicked. After all, Yang Zhaokai was the 18th prince. He had openly attacked Yang Zhaokai in front of so many people. If word got out, the sovereign emperor might punish him. Now that Ningyu had stepped forward, he could use this opportunity to step down. 18th prince, take out the emperor-grade elixir. I don't want to repeat myself. Ningyu stretched out his right hand and said to Yang Zhaokai. Ningyu was different from Bai Yu Tian. As he spoke, he guided the soul force within Yang Zhaokai's body. Although he wasn't able to completely control Yang Zhaokai, but as long as he didn't stop using his soul power, Yang Zhaokai would show a pained expression and even roll on the ground. Here! Yang Zhaokai knew this. Therefore, the moment Ningyu activated his soul power, he flicked his wrist and threw the emperor-grade elixir in his hand to Ningyu. Piak! Ningyu had sharp eyes and nimble hands, firmly catching the emperor-grade medicinal pill. Not bad. Sensing the terrifying medicinal power contained in the elixir, Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. With this elixir, there was a high possibility that Ningyu could break through to the rank 3 quasi-emperor realm within 2 days. I can leave now, right? Seeing that Ningyu caught the emperor-grade elixir, Yang Zhaokai looked at Ningyu coldly and said in a deep voice, "There's still time. We'll meet again." Sha, sha, sha. His feet moved. Yang Zhaokai turned and left. Actually, Yang Zhaokai really wanted to stay. At the very least, he wanted to see Yang Yiming. However, looking at Ningyu's attitude, he would probably be extorted by Ningyu if he stayed. Leaving was the best choice. Did I say you can leave? Ningyu accepted the emperor-grade elixir and crossed his arms in front of his chest. 10 Emperor-grade elixir. I said before that as long as you take out 10 Emperor-grade elixir, you can leave. Now there's only one. Don't you know how to count? Don't go too far. Yang Zhaokai was so angry that his nose was crooked. Did he really think he was easy to bully? 10 Emperor-grade elixir. Not to mention that he did not have it. Even if he did, he would never take it out to Ningyu. One could imagine. How powerful would Ningyu, who had 10 Emperor-grade elixir, be in 2 days' time? Right now, Qin, he might not be Ningyu's match. 2 days later, it would probably be even more difficult. Sorry, I'm not going too far. Ningyu shrugged and continued. It's fine if you don't want to hand over the remaining 9 elixir. Go, I won't force you. Yang Zhaokai was slightly stunned. If Ningyu flew into a rage at him, he would take it as a matter of course. But now, Ningyu's tone was gentle. Not only was he not angry, but he was also very magnanimous. This made him a little uncomfortable. Go. However, even if he couldn't get used to it, Yang Zhaokai would not stay foolishly. He glared at Bai Yutian fiercely, and then left quickly with Qinhe. A long time after Yang Zhaokai left, Bai Yutian said cautiously, Ningyu, why did you let Yang Zhaokai leave? I can feel that he has at least 2 more Emperor-grade elixir. Since he had fallen out with Yang Zhaokai, Bai Yutian naturally hoped that Yang Zhaokai would fight to the death with Ningyu. It would be best if Yang Zhaokai was killed by Ningyu, because only in this way Yang Zhaokai would not find trouble with him. Why didn't you say so just now? Ningyu glanced at Bai Yutian and said calmly, Yang Zhaokai hasn't gone far. Go and call him back. Bai Yutian was dumbfounded. He had just said it casually. He did not have the guts to really call Yang Zhaokai back. At this time, Qinhe and Yang Zhaokai were in a fit of anger. If he went over, Qinhe would probably attack him without hesitation. In a one-on-one situation, he was not Qinhe's match. If you're not going, then shut up. Ningyu berated. Then he frowned slightly, secretly thinking about how to resist the force in Yang Zhaokai's body. After a close observation just now, Ningyu roughly judged the power of the force in Yang Zhaokai's body. Rank 5 Quasi-Emperor. Unless his cultivation could rise to rank 5 Quasi-Emperor, he absolutely could not shake the force in Yang Zhaokai's body and could not achieve absolute control over Yang Zhaokai. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu muttered, Rank 5 Quasi-Emperor. There's still a long way to go. After saying this, Ningyu immediately returned to the 5th prince's residence, inside the martial proclamation hall. Having just obtained an emperor-grade elixir, he definitely had to cultivate for a while first. 2 days later was the contest for the position of crown prince. At that time, if he could not advance to rank 3 quasi-emperor, he could probably only let Ao Xing or Ning Lu take action. Ao Xing was a true dragon and Ning Lu was a world tree. If the two of them took action, some accidents would inevitably occur. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Ningyu would definitely take action himself. He absolutely would not let the two of them be exposed. This book came from Chapter 2539. At the same time, on the phone, the 18th prince's residence. As soon as he returned to the study, Yang Zhaokai suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped to the Dao domain realm. Are you all right? Qin, he patted Yang Zhaokai's back and said, Ningyu is indeed a big problem. His strength is no weaker than mine. It's fine. Yang Zhaokai wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, I've decided to give that thing to you so that you can break through to peak rank for Quasi-Emperor as soon as possible. Really? Qin, his face lit up with ecstasy. He was a rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. The reason why he followed Yang Zhaokai and followed him was because he wanted that thing. Now that Yang Zhaokai had taken the initiative to say it, how could he not be excited? Of course. Yang Zhaokai's lips curled up, and he took out a jade bottle from his bosom. He looked carefully. There was a blood-red pill in the jade bottle. The Red Skull pill. The so-called Red Skull pill was refined from the blood of thousands of experts, and it had an extremely powerful effect. If an ordinary quasi-emperor swallowed it and completely refined it, they could easily advance to the mid-stage quasi-emperor realm. Qin, he was an early rank for quasi-emperor. If he swallowed the Red Skull pill, he could definitely break through to peak rank 4 quasi-emperor. You can leave. I want to be alone. Yang Zhaokai casually tossed the jade bottle and waved his hand. Yes. Qin, he caught the jade bottle and left the study. Buzz. As soon as Qin he stepped out of the study, a black figure appeared in front of Yang Zhaokai. Haha, Yang Zhaokai, looks like you're in trouble. The figure smiled and said to Yang Zhaokai, have you thought it through? Do you want me to fuse with you? No need. Yang Zhaokai's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, just mind your own business. Don't expose your identity when the time comes. You should know that the third young master has already died a tragic death. I think the Blood Sky Battle Emperor wouldn't want to see his second son killed. It's useless for you to provoke me like this. I'm not the same as that piece of trash. Fine. You can come find me after you've thought it through. The illusory figure chuckled. Soon after, his figure flashed and disappeared into the void. After the illusory figure disappeared, Yang Zhaokai clenched his fists tightly and a cold expression appeared on his face. Ningyu, Yang Yeming by Yu Tian. Yang Zhaokai took a deep breath and said, 2 days from now will be the day you die. Boom! Ningyu had no idea what was happening in the 18th prince's residence. After he obtained the emperor-grade medicinal pill from Yang Zhaokai, he immediately returned to the martial proclamation hall and started devouring it. The medicinal efficacy of an emperor-rank medicinal pill was extremely terrifying. As soon as he swallowed the emperor-ranked medicinal pill, Ningyu felt like he was about to advance to rank 3 quasi-emperor. However, Ningyu did not attempt to break through to the 3rd rank quasi-emperor realm. To him, using emperor-ranked medicinal pills to stabilize and strengthen his physical body was more important than directly advancing to the 3rd rank quasi-emperor realm. The 3rd transformation of the divine god of battle had allowed his physical body to reach the peak of the 3rd rank quasi-emperor realm. If he could use this emperor-ranked medicinal pill to strengthen his physical body to the 4th rank quasi-emperor realm, his strength would be stronger than directly advancing to the 3rd rank quasi-emperor realm. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. On the 3rd day, a dull sound suddenly came from Ningyu's body. Bang! Following the dull sound, Ningyu's physical body was strengthened to the 4th rank quasi-emperor realm. This meant that Ningyu had reached the 4th transformation of the divine god of battle. However, a single emperor-ranked medicinal pill had only allowed Ningyu to reach the initial stage of the 4th transformation of the divine god of battle. He was still a distance away from reaching the middle finger. The 4th transformation of the divine god of battle was similar to a mid-rank quasi-emperor realm. The first 3 transformations were the initial stage, the middle 3 transformations were the intermediate stage, and the last 3 transformations were the advanced stage. A small improvement would only increase one's strength slightly, but a major improvement would result in a qualitative change in one's strength. Very good. Ningyu nodded his head in satisfaction as he sensed the changes in his physical body. Consuming a single emperor-ranked medicinal pill to cultivate the divine god of battle body to the 4th transformation of the divine god of battle had exceeded Ningyu's expectations. After all, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to improve the divine god of battle body in a short period of time. Creak! As soon as Ningyu cultivated the divine god of battle body to the 4th transformation of the divine god of battle, the entrance of the martial proclamation hall was slowly pushed open. Following this, Yang Yeming walked in. 1st rank quasi-emperor. Ningyu opened his eyes and looked at Yang Yeming with a slightly surprised expression. He remembered it clearly. When he had separated from Yang Yeming's cultivation had only reached the Tao domain realm. Furthermore, Yang Yeming had only reached the Tao domain realm with a few drops of Emperor's spiritual liquid. Now that Yang Yeming had reached the first rank quasi-emperor realm, Ningyu was shocked. Ningyu, this is an emperor-ranked medicinal pill. Yang Yeming went straight to Ningyu and took out a silver-white medicinal pill. Thank you for your help during this period of time. If you have something to say, just say it. Ningyu took the silver-white medicinal pill and said unhappily. Ning, you had already guessed what Yang Yeming wanted to do. This was because he had communicated with Sun Luen before this. Sun Luen was afraid that Yang Yeming would find it difficult to speak, so he told Ningyu the rules of the Crown Prince contest in advance. At this moment, Yang Yeming took out an emperor-ranked medicinal pill. His intention was self-evident. Ning, you would not stand on ceremony with Yang Yeming. As long as he had another emperor-ranked medicinal pill, he would definitely be able to cultivate to the third rank quasi-emperor realm. When the time came, a third rank quasi-emperor, combined with the devouring great Tao and the fourth transformation of the divine god of battle, his overall strength would reach a terrifying level. I want you to help me fight for the position of Crown Prince. Yang Yeming clenched his teeth and said, the rules of the Crown Prince contest are to let the princes fight each other first. The two princes that win will be allowed to participate in the arena battle. However, the advisors of the princes will be the ones to participate in the arena battle. The winner will be the Crown Prince. Understood. Ningyu patted Yang Yeming's shoulder and said, if there's nothing else, you should go back first and try to raise your cultivation by a small level, in case I don't have a chance to help you. Ningyu saw everything clearly. There was still a portion of the medicinal energy in Yang Yeming's body that had yet to be digested. Once the medicinal energy was completely absorbed, Yang Yeming's cultivation would at least rise to the first rank quasi-emperor realm. After all, the effects of an emperor-ranked medicinal pill would not be that little. Thank you. Yang Yeming knew that Ningyu did not like to beat around the bush. He nodded and left the martial proclamation hall. After Yang Yeming left, Ningyu glanced at Ning Lu and Ao Xing, who were resting with their eyes closed. Without hesitation, he tossed the silver-white medicinal pill into his mouth. Crack! The medicinal pill shattered, and a terrifying medicinal energy flowed down his throat and into Ning Yu's abdomen. There was only one day left until the Crown Prince contest. Evidently, Ning Yu wanted to use this day to break through to the third rank quasi-emperor realm. This book came from Chapter 2540. While Ningyu, Yang Yeming, and the rest were refining the emperor-grade medicinal pills. Please search Divine Wind City, 4th Prince's residence. Boom! Yang Chong suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura shot into the sky from his body. Late stage, 1st rank, quasi-emperor. 4th Prince Yang Chong's cultivation had reached the late stage, 1st rank, quasi-emperor realm. 9th Prince's residence. Rumble. Yang Shui clenched his right fist and punched out. In an instant, the void shattered and countless spatial cracks appeared. Peak 1st rank, quasi-emperor. 9th Prince Yang Shui's cultivation was even more terrifying than Yang Chong's. He had reached the peak 1st rank, quasi-emperor realm. Great! 13th Prince's residence. Yang Qinghao felt the changes in his body and shouted. Compared to the 4th and 9th princes, the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao was even more terrifying. Rank 2nd rank, quasi-emperor. Yang Qinghao refined 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills, and his cultivation rose from the peak heaven receiving realm to the early stage 2nd rank, quasi-emperor realm. This happened in the residences of many princes in Divine Wind City. Apart from the 4th, 9th, and 13th princes, there were at least 3 other princes who had broken through the limit and reached the quasi-emperor realm. Rumor had it, The crown prince would receive a lot of resources, and the emperor would even reward the crown prince with some treasures. For the sake of the position of crown prince, all the princes and the factions behind them went crazy. Open strife and veiled strife continued. About everything. Ningyu and Yang Yaming didn't care about it at all. No matter how strong the others were, it was their business. They could only face everything calmly when they became stronger. At that time, no matter how strong the enemies were, they could deal with them easily. Time passed. Soon the third day passed. When the sun rose on the fourth day, two terrifying auras rushed out from the fifth prince's residence. Fortunately, Sun Luin activated the formation in advance and blocked the two auras. Congratulations. In Yang Yaming's room, Sun Luin stood respectfully with a joyful expression. Young master has advanced to late stage, first rank, quasi-emperor. You'll definitely win this battle. I didn't expect it either. Yang Yaming took a deep breath. His emotions were somewhat visible. To be honest, originally, Yang Yaming thought that he could advance to mid-stage, first-order, quasi-emperor at most. After all, he did not have much emperor rank elixir left in his body, only less than half. But now, Yang Yaming felt incredulous that he had directly advanced to late first-order, quasi-emperor. By the way, was that aura Ningyu's? After being happy for a while, Yang Yaming asked. Because he was focused on cultivating, he could sense the aura just now, but he wasn't particularly familiar with it. If he asks Sun Luin now, he should be able to figure out the other party's identity. That's right. It's Ningyu. Sun Luin nodded, and only closed the array formation when Ningyu's aura dissipated. He should be a rank 3 quasi-emperor. After some thought, Sun Luin said, when Ningyu was a peak rank 2 quasi-emperor, he could already challenge a rank 4 quasi-emperor. Now that he has advanced to rank 3 quasi-emperor, doesn't that mean that even a mid-rank for quasi-emperor or a late rank for quasi-emperor might not be Ningyu's match? All right, good, very good. Yang Yaming was overjoyed. If Ningyu was strong, he would have a chance to seize the position of crown prince. If Ningyu was not strong, he would only be cannon fodder and would not be able to pass the second round. Come, let's go see Ningyu. Yang Yaming took a deep breath and moved his feet, heading straight for the martial proclamation hall. Not long after, Yang Yaming arrived before the martial proclamation hall. Creak! Yang Yaming had just arrived before the hall when the doors slowly opened from the inside. Ningyu, Ao Xing, and Ning Lu walked out side by side. I can't believe it, feeling the terrifying aura from Ningyu and the others. Yang Yaming could not help but curse even though he was prepared. Originally, Yang Yaming thought, since Ningyu had already advanced to early first order quasi-emperor, his strength was definitely stronger than Ao Xing and Ning Lu. However, now that he saw Ao Xing and Ning Lu, Yang Yaming finally understood. It was not that Ningyu was not strong, but that Ao Xing and Ning Lu were too strong. Ningyu was an early first-order quasi-emperor, while Ao Xing and Ning Lu were peak third-order quasi-emperors. Previously, Ao Xing and Ning Lu were only late first-order quasi-emperors. After 3 days of cultivation, their cultivation had increased by a small level. Late first-order quasi-emperor, not bad. Ningyu smiled at Yang Yaming. I thought you could only advance to early first-order quasi-emperor. I didn't expect you to advance to late first-order quasi-emperor. It's all thanks to the emperor's spiritual liquid you gave me, Yang Yaming said. Don't bother with these empty words. Let's go. The fight for the position of crown prince is about to begin. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, Yes. Yang Yaming nodded, then turned and led Ningyu and the others towards the imperial palace. This time the fight for the position of crown prince would take place in the imperial palace. Because of this, the celestial emperor even personally ordered people to build a huge palace specifically for the purpose of the duels. The palace was called the Crown Prince Hall. The meaning was self-evident. The final victor would be the crown prince of the Divine Wind Empire. At this time, many martial artists had already gathered in front of the crown prince hall. Among them, the 4th Prince Yang Chong, the 9th Prince Yang Shui, the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao, the 18th Prince Yang Zhaokai, and the other princes were all scattered in front of the crown prince hall. Before the emperor arrived, no one dared to enter the crown prince hall. "Fourth brother, I hope you will show mercy in the fight later." Yang Shui smiled at Yang Chong. As they spoke, a cold light shot out of Yang Shui's eyes, moving around Yang Chong. A while later, Yang Shui retracted his gaze. He had a rough idea. Yang Chong's cultivation was only late first order quasi-emperor. As for his cultivation, he was a peak first order quasi-emperor. If they really fought, he had a high chance of winning. However, there were too many variables in the arena battle. Yang Shui did not dare to guarantee 100% victory. Therefore, before coming this time, his mother's faction had sent people to hide his cultivation. In the eyes of outsiders, he was not a peak first order quasi-emperor, but an early first order quasi-emperor. Being provoked by Yang Shui, the 4th Prince Yang Chong smiled and did not say anything. To be honest, although Yang Chong did not know what Yang Shui's cultivation was, his opponent was not Yang Shui. Of course, it was not Yang Qinghao who had advanced to second order quasi-emperor. It was the 18th Prince, Yang Zhaokai. Yang Zhaokai closed his eyes as if he had merged with the void. On the surface, Yang Zhaokai's cultivation was at most peak heaven receiving realm. He had not even reached quasi-emperor. However, none of the princes dared to underestimate him. After all, everyone knew what happened in front of the 5th prince's residence 2 days ago. At that time, Yang Zhaokai did not even see Yang Yiming before he left dejectedly. Before he left, he was forced to hand over an emperor-level elixir. Now that the crown prince contest was about to begin, Yang Zhaokai must be holding his breath and wanted to compete with Yang Yiming in the arena battle. This book came from Chapter 2541. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Another few minutes passed. Please search, accompanied by a few rustling sounds. A group of 5 martial artists walked over from afar. Ningyu and Yang Yiming were at the front, followed by Ao Xing, Ninglu, and Sun Luan. Including him, there were only 5 people from Yang Yiming's side in the contest for the crown prince position. There was not even a rank for quasi-emperor. Even so, none of the princes dared to underestimate Yang Yiming. After all, Ao Xing and Ninglu could deter Qinhe. As for Ningyu, it was even more exaggerated. He could make rank for quasi-emperor by Yu Tian submit, which was enough to show how terrifying he was. However, Ningyu did not choose to let Bai Yu Tian follow. He had left Bai Yu Tian in the 5th prince's residence to prevent anyone from taking drastic measures to destroy the 5th prince's residence while they were fighting for the position of crown prince. Because he had to travel light, Ningyu did not let Lin Lang and Xiao Duanya follow, but left them in the 5th prince's residence. Or rather, Ningyu left all the martial artists in the Red Demon Sword in the 5th prince's residence. In this way, he could fully unleash the power of the Red Demon Sword when he fought without any scruples. "5th brother, you're a little late." Yang Chong looked around. Seeing that no one was looking for trouble with Yang Yiming, he stepped forward and stretched out a hand. "I heard that you obtained a large amount of Emperor's spiritual liquid in the secret realm of a quasi-emperor. Is this true?" "Here it comes." Yang Yiming's heart turned cold. He had long known that there would be people making things difficult for him before the contest for the crown prince position, but he did not expect. The first to make things difficult for him was Yang Chong. Moreover, Yang Chong used the Emperor's spiritual liquid to make things difficult for him. It should be known, the Emperor's spiritual liquid was something that even high-level quasi-emperors coveted. As expected, hearing Yang Chong mention the Emperor's spiritual liquid, The surrounding quasi-emperors all turned to look at Yang Yeming, trying to hear more. Unfortunately, it was unknown whether Yang Chang did it on purpose, but he set up a soundproof formation. Under normal circumstances, the soundproofing array formation that Yang Chang laid down definitely could not block the prying of these quasi-emperor powerhouses. However, this was in front of the Crown Prince's palace, inside the Divine Wind Empire's imperial palace. The one who set up the soundproof array formation was the fourth prince, Yang Chang. Therefore, these quasi-emperors wanted to eavesdrop, but they also had some concerns. Fifth brother, what do you mean by this? At this moment, Yang Chang started to add scenes for himself. His expression changed, and he said in a deep voice, "We're just having conversation. Why do we need to set up a soundproof array? Don't you want to share the great emperor's spiritual liquid with us?" Kacha! The last sentence fell. Yang Chang suddenly exerted force and shook open the soundproof array formation. "I didn't expect you to be such a person. Isn't it just a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid? I didn't say I wanted it from you. Why did you have to be so mean to me?" Yang Chang looked around and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, please be the judge. The great monarch's spirit elixir is good, but we are not unreasonable people. You got a few hundred drops of great monarch's spirit elixir, and we only want a dozen drops each. Is that too much?" But he opened his mouth and was about to speak when Yang Zhaokai behind him immediately patted his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Don't interfere." Hearing this, he thought about it and finally chose to shut up. Ning Yu was not a kind person. Since Ning Yu did not say anything, it meant that there was going to be a good show to watch. If Ning Yu could cheat Yang Zhaokai of an emperor-grade medicinal pill, he could absolutely cheat Yang Chang until he had nothing left. "You want the great monarch's spiritual liquid." Ning Yu lightly shook his head at Yang Yeming, indicating that he would settle this matter. Moving his feet, Ning Yu came directly in front of Yang Chang and said indifferently, "At your age, your cultivation is only at the late first order, quasi-emperor. Aren't you ashamed?" "What did you say?" Yang Chang's eyes widened as if he had heard wrongly. He was the dignified fourth prince. Even if Ning Yu was Yang Yeming's strongest advisor, he should not have dared to speak to him like this. Could it be that Ning Yu still had some hidden cards up his sleeves? Thinking of this, Yang Chang took a deep breath and said, "I admit that you are very strong, but what can you do even if you are strong?" Yang Yeming obtained a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid from the quasi-emperor mysterious realm. He must take it out and distribute it to everyone. That's right, the fifth prince did obtain a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid from the quasi-emperor mysterious realm. Ning Yu admitted straightforwardly. Swoosh! Hearing Ning Yu's words, everyone present, including Yang Yeming, was somewhat dumbfounded. However, Yang Yeming was dumbfounded, while the others were pleasantly surprised. Ning Yu admitted that Yang Yeming had a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid. Didn't that mean that if they pressured Yang Yeming they could get a few drops? Even a few drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid would be very useful to them. They could use great monarch's spiritual liquid to raise their cultivation and reconstruct their meridians. But soon Ning Yu changed the topic and said in a clear voice, "Last night, someone snuck into the fifth prince's residence and stole 500 drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid." What? The great monarch's spiritual liquid was stolen? Who has the guts to steal in the Divine Wind Empire? Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. Only Yang Zhaokai, who was far away, knew that this was the prelude to Ning Yu's scheme. Sure enough, Ning Yu came to Yang Chang's side and patted him on the shoulder, saying, "According to my investigation, the person who stole the great monarch's spiritual liquid is you." Boom! Compared to the previous sentence, Ning Yu's words were even more shocking. Yang Chang snuck into the fifth prince's residence and stole a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid? Only a ghost would believe it. Not to mention that Yang Chang was only a first-stage quasi-emperor. Even if he was a fourth-stage quasi-emperor, it would be impossible for him to enter the fifth prince's residence and escape unscathed. Ha ha ha! Yang Chang threw his head back and laughed wildly. His laughter was very arrogant as he said, "Don't you think before you lie? If I had a few hundred drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid, I would definitely carry it with me. Why would I leave it somewhere else?" "Well said." Ningyu nodded and said, "You do carry a few drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid with you." "You said I have great monarch's spiritual liquid? Why would I?" Yang Chang said fiercely. However, halfway through his sentence, Yang Chang's voice stopped abruptly, because Yang Chang discovered that he did have a few drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid on him. Low-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid. The great monarch's spiritual liquid on Yang Chang was low-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid. When Ningyu patted his shoulder, he secretly placed a few drops of great monarch's spiritual liquid on him. Previously, in the quasi-emperor's secret realm, Ningyu not only obtained thousands of high-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid, but also many low-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid. Because the effects of low-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid were much weaker than high-grade great monarch's spiritual liquid, Ningyu kept them inside the red demon sword. He did not expect that it would actually be useful now. There really is great monarch's spiritual liquid? Is what Ningyu said right? Where did Yang Chang get the guts to barge into the fifth prince's residence to steal great monarch's spiritual liquid? Who can say for sure? Humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. Among the many princes, Yang Chang's cultivation is only a late first stage quasi-emperor. It's understandable that he would take such a risk for the sake of great monarch's spiritual liquid. Everyone discussed animatedly. The wind direction instantly reversed. This book came from Chapter 2542. Don't slander me. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, Yang Chang's expression changed slightly. However, Yang Chang was, after all, the fourth prince of the Divine Wind Empire, a late First Order quasi-emperor. In this situation, he quickly regained his composure. Taking a deep breath, Yang Chang looked coldly at Ningyu and said, "You said that I have the Emperor's spiritual liquid on me. What evidence do you have? Don't tell me you want to search me." "Without evidence, I won't search you," Ningyu said indifferently. "Ha ha ha." Yang Chang threw his head back and laughed wildly, then said, "You dare to slander me without evidence. I think you're tired of living." Speaking up to here, Yang Chang directly turned to stare at Yang Yeming and said fiercely, "You better control your people. Trouble comes from the mouth. If you say there's no, then there's no." Ningyu did not care about Yang Chang. He shrugged and said indifferently, "The Emperor's spiritual liquid has all been lost. As for who stole it, I think everyone has a judgment in their hearts." This brother is right. Yang Shui's eyes flickered. He thought about it and finally decided to add insult to injury. He and Yang Chang had a competitive relationship. If he could drag Yang Chang down now, he would naturally have one less competitor in the arena later. To tell the truth, whether Yang Chang stole the Emperor's spiritual liquid or not, Yang Shui did not care at all. He only knew that Ningyu had created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. As long as he could make use of it, he could make Yang Chang and Yang Yeming fight first. Yang Shui took a step forward, first pointing at Ningyu, then at Yang Chang, and said, "Whether you have the Emperor's spiritual liquid or not, logically speaking, has nothing to do with us. But if you really stole Fifth Brother's Emperor's spiritual liquid, then we'll have a good talk today. Ninth Brother, you want to be my enemy." Yang Chang's face was frighteningly cold. How could he not know what Yang Shui meant? Taking advantage of this gap to sow discord between him and Yang Yeming. No matter who won in the end, one would be kicked out. Be your enemy? No, no, no. I don't want to be your enemy. Yang Shui kept shaking his head and said, Justice is in the hearts of the people. I have a great Emperor's elixir detection crystal here. As long as you get close to a warrior with great Emperor's elixir, it will automatically glow. Whoosh! During the conversation, Yang Shui flicked his wrist and threw the crystal towards Yang Chang. Damn it! Yang Chang did not know if the crystal was real or fake, but he was very clear that if the crystal was real, he would not be able to explain himself today. Therefore, a cold light shot out from Yang Chang's body, shattering the crystal before it could even get close to him. Kacha! The shattered crystals fell to the ground continuously. Boom! However, Yang Chang had clearly underestimated Yang Shui. Since Yang Shui wanted to scheme against him, he would definitely do it without fail. In front of everyone, the shattered crystal was put back together again. Furthermore, after the crystals were assembled, a pillar of light soared into the sky. Hua! Seeing the light pillar soaring into the sky, the surrounding cultivators were all startled. Originally, they did not believe that Yang Chang would be stupid enough to steal the great Emperor's spirit liquid. However, they had no choice but to believe it now. Although some of them were skeptical, most of them chose to believe it. Fifth brother. The pillar of light flashed and quickly disappeared. After the pillar of light disappeared, Yang Shui looked at Yang Yiming and said, Fourth brother stole your great Emperor's spirit liquid. Aren't you going to settle this? That's right. I suggest that fourth brother and fifth brother spar first. The 13th prince, Yang Qinghao, agreed. A spar between fourth brother and fifth brother will definitely be very exciting. The 18th prince and Yang Zhaokai also said. The 13th prince and the 18th prince did not participate previously because they were afraid of falling into Ningyu's trap. However, now, Yang Shui participated first and drew the fire to himself. Naturally, the 13th prince and the 18th prince had to add fuel to the fire. All right, fifth brother, I accept your challenge. Yang Chang looked around coldly. Then he took a deep breath and said sternly, However, before we spar, I have a condition. Whoever loses must give up the fight for the crown prince position and give the other party an emperor-grade medicinal pill. Yang Yiming did not answer Yang Chang immediately. Sparring right now was not Yang Yiming's true intention. After all, there was going to be an arena battle later. If he fought Yang Chang now, it would obviously benefit others. Furthermore, Yang Yiming knew that if Yang Chang dared to challenge him, it meant that Yang Chang was not weak. Although he could win in a life and death battle, he would still have to pay a price. The princes are of noble status. How about this? Let me play with your advisor. Ning, you would not let Yang Yiming fight. He took a step forward and pointed at the elder behind Yang Chang. Your advisor is an early stage rank 4 quasi-emperor and is extremely strong. If I spar with him, the chances of me winning are very low. Therefore, I feel that we should change the condition to 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills. Whoosh! Hearing Ningyu's words, the surrounding martial artists were somewhat stunned. 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills, right off the bat? Could it be that Ningyu thought that he could win for sure? Yang Chang's advisor was an early stage, rank 4 quasi-emperor. Everyone was very clear. After one's cultivation reached the mid-stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, there would be a qualitative leap in one's strength. Ningyu was a rank 3 quasi-emperor. If he really fought with an early stage rank 4 quasi-emperor, it was very likely that he would not even be able to withstand one move. Good. A hint of excitement appeared in Yang Chang's eyes. Sure enough, he was courting death. Zhao Wu. Yang Chang said coldly, Go and play with Ningyu. Remember, don't hurt him. Got it. Zhao Wu nodded and moved his feet. He stopped in front of Ningyu and made an inviting gesture. Don't be anxious. Ning, you would not fight with Zhao Wu just like that, he said in a clear voice. Fourth prince, take out 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills first. Only then will I spar with Zhao Wu. Yang Chang's lungs were about to explode. Where was he going to find 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills? Could it be that the sparring with Zhao Wu that Ningyu said was just a stalling tactic? After all, he definitely did not have 10 emperor-grade medicinal pills. I only have 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills. Yang Chang took out a jade bottle and said, "As long as you can defeat Zhao Wu, I will give these 2 medicinal pills to you." "Only 2? Ningyu pursed his lips and said reluctantly, "All right, 2 it is. Count it as my bad luck." "Zhao Wu, entertain Ningyu well," Yang Chang said coldly. Swish! As soon as Yang Chang's voice fell, Zhao Wu's feet stepped on the ground and his body suddenly rushed out. Zhao Wu's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he arrived in front of Ningyu. A fist containing terrifying energy smashed ruthlessly toward Ningyu's head. Just by looking at this attack, how could Zhao Wu have any intention of sparring? He clearly wanted to kill Ningyu. Chapter 2543. Want to kill me? Looking at the incoming fist, Ningyu did not have any intention of dodging. From the beginning, he knew that Yang Chang had the intention to kill him. The reason why he took the initiative to challenge Zhao Wu was because he could tell that Zhao Wu was not an early-stage Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor, but a mid-stage Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor. Furthermore, he sensed a familiar aura from Zhao Wu's body. Very likely, Zhao Wu was a sky demon expert. He forced Zhao Wu to make a move. On one hand, he wanted to see Yang Chang's reaction. On the other hand, he wanted to test if Zhao Wu was a heavenly demon. Now, Zhao Wu's attack brought about a trace of aura, and he was almost certain that Zhao Wu was a sky demon. Since Zhao Wu was a sky demon, even if he killed Zhao Wu, there should be no problem. What is Ningyu doing? Scared silly? He should be. After all, Ningyu is only an early-stage Third-Order Quasi-Emperor, while Zhao Wu is an early-stage Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor. The two of them are a whole level apart. Sigh, the fifth prince is really something. Why is he watching his subordinate Third-Order Quasi-Emperor go to his death? Humph! Someone wants to die. How can the fifth prince stop him? Seeing that Ningyu did not have the slightest intention of stopping him, the surrounding martial artists began to discuss. He should be fine, right? Yang Yeming was slightly worried and asked Ao Xing next to him. What could possibly happen to him? Ao Xing rolled his eyes and said in a low voice, "You may not know Ningyu's true battle strength. I'll tell you this. When Ningyu was a peak second-stage Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor, he could already contend with a Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor. Now that he has advanced to a Third-Order Quasi-Emperor, his overall strength should be able to contend with a Fourth-Order Quasi-Emperor. So powerful? Yang Yeming was very surprised. How could his strength increase so much just by advancing one level? You'll know when you see. Ao Xing did not explain anything to Yang Yeming. Ningyu's true strength did not lie in his cultivation. Just by relying on his cultivation, he could at most contend with a mid-fourth order quasi-emperor. However, with the great Tao of devouring and the divine war body, Ningyu was fearless even if he encountered a peak rank for quasi-emperor. That was to say, after advancing to rank 3 quasi-emperor, Ningyu's overall strength was no weaker than his and Ning Lu's. As for him and Ning Lu, they were both peak rank 3 quasi-emperors. Die. On the side, when Zhao Wu saw that Ningyu didn't dodge, his face lit up with ecstasy. He gathered all the energy in his body into his fist and punched at Ningyu's head. You want me to die? At this moment, Ningyu moved. Xiu! It was fine if he didn't move, but once he did, it was shocking. Ningyu tore open the void with his hands and went straight in. He disappeared. Not good. The moment Ningyu disappeared, Zhao Wu realized something was wrong. because he didn't even see how Ningyu disappeared. Under such circumstances, it meant that Ningyu's attainments in space were no weaker than his. Block! In a panic, Zhao Wu hurriedly activated the armor on his body, wanting to block Ningyu's attack. Crack! Unfortunately, Ningyu quickly appeared behind him and stabbed out with the red fiend sword. The armor Zhao Wu wore was an emperor-level armor. With his mid-4th order quasi-emperor cultivation, he needed some time to fully activate it. Ningyu took advantage of the gap when he activated the armor to stab his sword into his back and out of his heart. Uft! Bright red blood spurted from his mouth. The mid-4th order quasi-emperor Zhao Wu died on the spot. Hiss! Ningyu killing Zhao Wu with one strike caused the surrounding cultivators to be slightly moved. All of them sucked in a breath of cold air. Killed a 4th order quasi-emperor with one sword? One had to know that Ningyu was only an early 4th order quasi-emperor. To kill a martial artist who was a major realm higher, no one could do it unless they were some absolute geniuses. You! Seeing Zhao Wu die, Yang Chang's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. Among the quasi-emperors who supported him, Zhao Wu's cultivation was the highest and he was the strongest. Others might not know Zhao Wu's true cultivation, but he was very clear about it. A mid-4th order quasi-emperor, Zhao Wu was not an early 4th order quasi-emperor on the surface, but a genuine mid-4th order quasi-emperor. Moreover, Zhao Wu still had some other trump cards. Now, Zhao Wu was killed by Ningyu before he could even use his trump cards. Emperor-level armor, not bad. Ningyu went straight to Zhao Wu's corpse, reached out, pulled out the armor, and threw it into the red fiend sword. After devouring a lot of Emperor's spiritual liquid, the red fiend sword had also reached Emperor level. However, the red fiend sword was more inclined to devour magic treasures. Crack! 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 The red fiend sword quickly devoured Zhao Wu's Emperor-level armor. After devouring the Emperor-level armor, the red fiend sword's grade increased slightly. Defective product. The red fiend sword sent a message to Ningyu. Zhao Wu's armor was not a genuine Emperor-level armor, but a defective product. Among Emperor-level armors, its defense was the weakest. 2 Emperor-level medicinal pills hand them over. Ningyu kicked Zhao Wu to Yang Chang and said indifferently, "Fourth Prince, I believe that you are willing to admit defeat and will not play any tricks." "I am willing to admit defeat, but you publicly killed Zhao Wu. I think you should give the Divine Wind Empire an explanation." Yang Chang threw the jade bottle in his hand to Ningyu and said fiercely, "Zhao Wu is a general of the Divine Wind Empire. You killed him, so you will not be able to escape today." Not be able to escape? Who's going to capture me? Ningyu said calmly. Originally, Ningyu did not want to expose the fact that Zhao Wu was a heavenly demon. However, if Yang Chang provoked him again and again, he would definitely reveal Zhao Wu's identity to the public. At that time, it was still unknown whether Yang Chang would be able to escape successfully. Where are the law enforcers? Yang Chang said coldly, "Ningyu killed great General Zhao Wu. Why haven't the members of the law enforcement palace come out and capture him?" Whoosh! Yang Chang's voice fell. Several martial artists appeared in the surroundings. The cultivation of these martial artists was not particularly high, but they were all rank 3 quasi-emperors. Each of them had a token on their body. The words law enforcement officers were written on the token. The members of the law enforcement officers of the Divine Wind Empire were all experts. It was not difficult for them to challenge those of a higher cultivation level, although the 4 law enforcement hall cultivators before him were early rank 3 quasi-emperors. They might not necessarily lose to a rank 4 quasi-emperor if they were to fight against one. Ha ha ha! Seeing the 4 law enforcement palace experts appear, Yang Chang threw his head back and laughed maniacally. He said viciously, "Ningyu, You even dared to kill great General Zhao Wu. I can see that you have already discussed this with fifth brother. I have reason to believe that you all have disloyal intentions. Come with us." Among the 4 law enforcement officers, a middle-aged man dressed in white said to Ningyu, "You are suspected of killing General Zhao Wu and need to be investigated. You really want to investigate me?" Chapter 2544. The middle-aged man in white frowned, feeling that Ningyu was too arrogant. On the phone, he was a martial artist of the Divine Wind Empire's Law Enforcement Hall, an early-stage third-order martial artist, the backbone of the Divine Wind Empire. Ningyu dared to ask him to investigate General Zhao Wu and arrest Yang Chong in front of so many people. Did he eat a bear's heart and a leopard's gall? Ha ha ha. Seeing Ningyu and the middle-aged man in white going against each other, Yang Chong couldn't help but laugh wildly. He might be the 4th prince, but to be honest, he didn't have the guts to go against the law enforcement hall martial artist. Or rather, he didn't dare to do it. After all, the law enforcement hall represented the emperor, the entire Divine Wind Empire, not a single person. Ningyu, you might not know this, but the law enforcement hall represents the emperor. You openly disobeyed the law enforcement hall martial artist. Even if you have 10 lives, you are destined to die today. Yang Chong's lips curled up as he looked at Ningyu and said, "Let me give you a piece of advice. If you know what's good for you, surrender as soon as possible. That way, you might be able to keep your corpse intact." "Is that so?" Ningyu chuckled and ignored Yang Chong. His eyes fell on the middle-aged man in white and said indifferently, "As long as you investigate Zhao Wu, everything will be clear." The middle-aged man didn't say whether or not to investigate Zhao Wu. He stood where he was, and his eyes shone brightly. No one knew what he was doing. No need to investigate. The fight for the position of crown prince is about to begin. The emperor doesn't want anything to go wrong. The middle-aged man waved his right hand, and a gust of wind swept Zhao Wu away. Subsequently, the middle-aged man in white and the remaining 3 law enforcement hall martial artists disappeared together. How is this possible? A long time after the middle-aged man in white disappeared, Yang Chong finally reacted. To be honest, he didn't expect this result. He really couldn't figure it out. Why did the middle-aged man in white want to protect Ningyu? That's right, protect. In his opinion, as a martial artist of the Tribunal Council, the white-robed middle-aged man could easily apprehend Ningyu and execute him on the spot. However, the white-robed middle-aged man did not do that. He casually took Zhao Wu away and did not even say a word. This made Yang Chong a little suspicious. Not only Yang Chong, even Yang Zhaokai and the others were a little confused. Those who did not know would think that the God Monarch was secretly supporting Yang Yeming. The Divine Wind Empire's sovereign emperor should have known long ago. Ningyu stopped underestimating him. In fact, the emperor of the Divine Wind Empire had always been hiding in the void. If it weren't for Ao Xing and Ning Lu's help, Ningyu wouldn't have been able to find the emperor's whereabouts. Since the Empyrean Lord was in the void, offending Yang Chong was the limit. Ningyu had no doubt that if he offended Yang Shui again, he would not be able to escape today. Whoosh! Just as he was thinking, suddenly, a figure tore through the void and appeared in front of everyone. "Greetings, Your Majesty!" Upon seeing the newcomer, the many cultivators in front of the crown prince's hall bowed and greeted him respectfully. The newcomer was none other than the Divine Wind Empire's sovereign emperor, high-grade quasi-emperor. Based on the sovereign emperor's aura, Ningyu judged that he should be a high-grade quasi-emperor. As for whether he was a rank 7, rank 8, or rank 9, Ningyu did not know. After all, at the level of a high-grade quasi-emperor, if they wanted to deliberately hide their aura, ordinary cultivators would not be able to discover them. I'll cut to the chase. I have made a small change to the rules of the fight for the position of Crown Prince. The sovereign emperor's gaze swept across the crowd, and he said, "All the princes vying for the position of crown prince will enter the inner hall of the crown prince's hall and engage in a chaotic battle. The 3 princes left standing will enter the second round. As for the advisors of the princes, they will engage in a chaotic battle in the outer hall of the crown prince's hall. The final 3 advisors will enter the second round. The rules are actually very simple. Be it the princes or advisors, as long as they can enter the top 3, the advisors and the princes can bask in the glory and enter the second round. I will tell you the rules of the second round at that time." Whoosh! The moment the sovereign emperor spoke, the sovereign emperor tore through space and entered. Not long after he entered, the sovereign emperor's voice rang out again. "Oh, by the way, only 1 advisor can participate in the battle. The rest will wait outside the crown prince's hall." The sovereign emperor's words caused the expressions of the princes, who were hoping for a fluke, to turn somewhat unsightly. These princes were not very strong. They had not even reached quasi-emperor. However, their advisors were very strong. If a few more advisors could enter the second round, they might be able to enter the second round. Now that the sovereign emperor had cut off their hopes of entering the second round, some princes did not even enter the crown prince's hall and chose to give up. One had to know. The sovereign emperor did not say that they could kill them. What if they met a few ruthless characters in the inner hall and got killed? Who could they reason with then? It was better to be safe than sorry. "Ningyu, just you wait and see." Yang Chang glared at Ningyu and entered the inner hall of the crown prince's hall without looking back. At this moment, Yang Chang was extremely furious. His advisor, Zhao Wu, had already been killed, leaving only Wang He, who was a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor. It would be harder than ascending to heaven for Wang He to enter the top 3. Therefore, he could only stand out among the princes. Otherwise, he would not even be able to enter the second round. Whoosh! 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 Yang Chang was the first to enter the crown prince's hall. The other princes leaped up and entered the hall one after another. After all the princes entered the hall, the remaining advisors quickly moved toward the crown prince's hall. Ningyu roughly scanned them. He discovered that these advisors were very powerful. Qin He, the advisor of the 18th Prince Yang Zhaokai, looked like a mid-4th rank quasi-emperor, but was actually a peak 4th rank quasi-emperor. Zhou Su, the advisor of the 13th Prince Yang Qinghao, was a late 4th rank quasi-emperor. Tang Hong, the advisor of the 9th Prince Yang Shui, was a late 4th rank quasi-emperor. Wang He, the advisor of the 4th Prince Yang Chang, was a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor. Among the remaining advisors, there was an old man in gray who attracted Ning Yu's attention. As he expected, this gray-robed old man's cultivation should be around half-step 5th rank quasi-emperor, slightly stronger than Qin He. Ning Yu became cautious. In a one-on-one fight, the gray-robed old man might not be able to gain the upper hand. However, he was afraid that the gray-robed old man would join forces with the others to deal with him. Ning Yu was not arrogant enough to think that he could fight against many people at once. Furthermore, they were all rank 4th rank quasi-emperors. Whoosh! He did not think too much about it. Ning Yu leaped up and entered the outer hall of the crown prince's hall. The fight in the outer hall looked rather ferocious, but in reality, no one took the initiative to attack. After everyone entered the outer hall, they stood where they were and closed their eyes to rest. Everyone knew that, as long as they made the first move, they would definitely be surrounded by the others. Rather than that, they might as well play dead and watch the others fight. Perhaps both sides would end up heavily injured, and they would be able to advance easily without even needing to make a move. This book came from Chapter 2545. Drip, drip. Time passed by slowly. After a full 10 minutes, a rank 4 quasi-emperor opened his eyes and said indifferently, "Everyone, don't just stand here. In my opinion, Everyone below rank 4 quasi-emperor should leave, lest the innocent get hurt. Whoosh! The moment the rank 4 quasi-emperor spoke, the low-rank quasi-emperors who wanted to fish in troubled waters all had unsightly expressions. No matter how unwilling they were, they could only grimace. A rank 4 quasi-emperors, words were crude, but they were not. If these low-rank quasi-emperors stayed behind, they would not even be able to withstand the shock waves of a mid-rank quasi-emperor fight. What do you mean by this? The rank 4 quasi-emperor who spoke was the 9th prince's aide, Tang Hong. He looked at the 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors and frowned slightly. I already said that rank 3 quasi-emperors might be killed if they stay behind. The 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors remained. Ning Yu did not count. After all, Tang Hong knew Ning Yu's strength. He subconsciously treated Ning Yu as a rank 4 quasi-emperor. Of the 4 rank 3 quasi-emperors, one was Wang He, one was an old woman with a walking stick, one was a middle-aged man wearing a conical bamboo hat, and the last was a crippled old man. Boom! Boom! The old woman and the conical bamboo hat man casually glanced at Tang Hong before unleashing their auras and soaring into the sky. Late rank 4 quasi-emperors. Tang Hong's expression changed slightly. He had misjudged them. Both the old woman and the conical bamboo hat man were late rank 4 quasi-emperors, the same as him. You pass. You can stay. Tang Hong shifted his gaze to the crippled old man and asked, What about you? What's your cultivation? The crippled old man was still resting with his eyes closed and did not answer Tang Hong's question. Humph! Tang Hong's expression changed. There were indeed not many cultivators who dared to openly oppose him here. Go. After a cold snort, Tang Hong decided to test the crippled old man's strength. If the crippled old man was strong, he could consider keeping him. If he was weak, then he could not blame him. He flicked his wrist. A cold light instantly shot out, heading straight for the crippled old man. Bang! The lame old man did not look at the cold light. However, when the cold light was 1 meter away from his body, it automatically stopped. Half-step rank 5 quasi-emperor. Tang Hong's expression turned extremely ugly. The lame old man was a half-step rank 5 quasi-emperor. He was only a step away from becoming a rank 5 quasi-emperor. This level of strength was not something he could contend with. We must join forces to drive him out first. Tang Hong's eyes turned as he thought of a countermeasure. At this time, there were not many warriors left in the outer hall. Including him, there were only 9 martial artists. The gray-robed old man and the lame old man were both half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors. Qin, he concealed his cultivation to be at the peak of the 4th rank. Zhou Su, the man in the conical bamboo hat, and the old woman with the walking stick were all late-stage 4th rank quasi-emperors. Ning Yu was an early-stage 3rd order quasi-emperor. Wang He was a peak 3rd order quasi-emperor, and he himself was a late-stage 4th order quasi-emperor. Among the 9 martial artists, Wang He would definitely be eliminated. As long as the gray-robed old man and the lame old man did not fight among themselves, they would also obtain 2 spots. Based on this, wouldn't it be very difficult for him to obtain the last spot? Ningyu, why don't we join forces and drive these 2 half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors out first? Tang Hong gritted his teeth and began to send a soul transmission to Ningyu. Not only that, while Tang Hong was contacting Ningyu, he was also contacting Qin He, Zhou Su, the man in the conical bamboo hat, and the old woman with the walking stick. Only by joining forces with many people would they be absolutely safe. Otherwise, there was a high chance that he would be eliminated. I don't care. Ning Yu shrugged his shoulders, indicating that it did not matter whether he participated or not. From Ning Yu's point of view, unless Tang Hong and the rest had trump cards, even if they joined forces, they would not be a match for 2 half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors. The gray-robed old man and the lame old man were also partly responsible for Ning Yu not agreeing to Tang Hong's request immediately. Just now, while Tang Hong was contacting Ning Yu, the gray-robed old man and the lame old man were also contacting Ning Yu. In other words, the gray-robed old man also contacted Qin, he and the rest. In short, the 9 of them each had their own ulterior motives. None of them were willing to be the first to make a move. Ning Yu, I want to challenge you. This situation continued for a period of time. In the end, it was broken by Wang He. Wang He took a step forward and pointed a finger at Ning Yu, saying fiercely, "You killed General Zhao Wu. I want to have a death match with you." A death match? Ning Yu was slightly surprised. Was Wang He's brain rusty? He was just a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. How dare he challenge him? Furthermore, it was a death match? Even someone as strong as Zhao Wu was easily killed by him, let alone Wang He. Unless Wang He's brain rusted or he lost his mind. Something's not right. Suddenly, Ning Yu seemed to have thought of something and started to be secretly vigilant in his heart. Wang He dared to have a death match with him. It was very likely that it was arranged by the gray-robed old man and the lame old man. Otherwise, with Wang He's cultivation and strength alone, he would not dare to take the initiative to challenge him. The more he thought about it, the more Ning Yu felt that it was possible. However, Ning Yu did not expose it easily. He looked at Wang He coldly and said in a deep voice, "Can any Tom, Dick, or Harry challenge me? If you want to challenge me, sure. Take out 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills first. If you don't have medicinal pills, you'd better get lost as soon as possible. Here are the medicinal pills." Wang He's reaction was out of Ning Yu's expectations. Wang He casually threw a jade bottle to Ning Yu and said, "There are 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills inside. Can you spar with me now?" "Pa!" Ning Yu received the medicinal pills, his expression a little dumbfounded. When did Wang He become so rich and overbearing? Those were 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills. Even Yan Chang could not take them out easily. Who exactly was Wang He? Why did he take out 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills without even furrowing his brows? Is it worth it to do this? On the other side, the gray-robed old man frowned slightly and lowered his voice to transmit his voice to the lame old man. If Wang He is killed by Ning Yu, our emperor-grade medicinal pills will be wasted. Just 1 emperor-grade medicinal pill. Don't tell me you can't afford it. The lame old man said indifferently, expending an emperor-grade medicinal pill to test Ning Yu's true strength is completely worth it. All right, the gray-robed old man nodded and said, Ning Yu's guess was right. The reason why Wang He attacked him was entirely because he was bewitched by the lame old man and the gray-robed old man. In order to test Ning Yu's true combat strength, the lame old man and the gray-robed old man even lent Wang He a scroll. That scroll was not a one-time use item, but a multi-use item. After activating the scroll, it could easily contend against a peak rank for quasi-emperor. The scroll's energy was exhausted. As long as a large amount of energy was injected, the scroll could be used a second time, using a total of 2 emperor-grade medicinal pills and a scroll. If they could test Ning Yu's true strength, it was completely worth it. This book came from Chapter 2546. Take My Punch, Overlord Fist. When Wang He saw Ning Yu accept the emperor-grade medicinal pill, he immediately flashed out explosively. His right hand clenched into a fist, and his fist brought along a violent gale of energy as it smashed fiercely towards Ning Yu's head. Phone! And bang! In the nick of time, Ning Yu casually waved his right hand. The 2 fists collided. Ning Yu stood in place without moving, while Wang He was pushed back several feet, only stopping when his body hit the ground. You overestimate yourself. After forcing Wang He back with a punch, Ning Yu said indifferently, seeing that it's not easy for you to cultivate. If you retreat now, I can spare your life. Don't even think about it. Wang He raised his head and shouted, then took out a scroll from his bosom and threw it at Ningyu. Explode! Following Wang He's low shout, Lin Fan's expression changed. The scroll suddenly activated, and the terrifying energy inside attacked Ningyu from all directions. Let's see how you can escape this time. The corner of Wang He's mouth curled up, as if he could see Ningyu's miserable state when he was killed, and he could not help but laugh. What? However, Wang He's laughter came to an abrupt halt halfway through, because he realized Ningyu was not killed by the energy inside the scroll, but stood in place unscathed. On the other hand, most of the energy was dispersed by Ningyu, and the rest dissipated between heaven and earth. Die! Ningyu looked at the scroll in Wang He's hand, and his heart was filled with joy, but on the surface he was very angry. The scroll was a good thing. Ningyu dared to conclude that the scroll definitely did not belong to Wang He. However, who cared who it belonged to, since he was fighting with Wang He? Then Wang He's things naturally belonged to him. The premise was that he could kill Wang He. Chi-Chi, the red demon sword in his hand, waved rapidly, and in an instant several sword beams shot out, attacking Wang He. There were so many sword lights. Even an ordinary late-stage 4th rank quasi-emperor would not be able to withstand it, much less a peak 3rd rank quasi-emperor like Wang He. Ah, save. Pucci! Wang He raised his head and screamed. Just as he was about to turn around and call for help, he was killed by Ningyu's red demon sword. Kill Wang He. Ningyu held the red demon sword in his left hand and reached for the scroll with his right. The scroll doesn't belong to you. When the gray-robed elder saw that Ningyu wanted to take the scroll away, he immediately shouted and said coldly, "Leave the scroll!" Humph! Ningyu would not stop. He casually slashed out several sword lights, attacking the gray-robed old man. As for himself, he went to fight for the scrolls. Attack! Ningyu had taken the initiative to provoke the gray-robed elder, and Tang Hong had mistakenly thought that he was on the same side as him. Thus, he hurriedly attacked the gray-robed elder. Let's go too. As for the rest, they infused Qin He, Zhou Su, and the others into the battlefield without hesitation. You're all courting death. The gray-robed elder was enraged. He was a half-step, rank 5 quasi-emperor. Apart from the lame elder, he was the strongest person present. Now that he was surrounded by so many people, he was enraged to the extreme. Kill them all. The gray-robed elder transmitted his voice to the lame elder. Leave no one alive. Sorry, I'll remain neutral. The lame elder's lips curled up, and he said indifferently, You guys fight your own battles. I won't interfere. The lame elder was the most shrewd. He would not ally with the gray-robed elder. He was very clear in his thoughts. As long as he did not make a move, whether the gray-robed elder or Ningyu won, they would suffer heavy injuries in the end. Under such a situation, he would be the fisherman. When the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fisherman would benefit. Damn it! The gray-robed elder was so angry that his nose was crooked. However, he was helpless at this time and could only brace himself and fight with Ningyu and the others. Rumble! The battle erupted in an instant. Although the gray-robed elder was a half-step, rank 5, quasi-emperor, Ningyu and Qin, he were not pushovers. Each of them had a trump card. If they were not wary of each other, the gray-robed elder would not have lasted even a minute. You guys are forcing my hand. The gray-robed elder took a deep breath and forced everyone back with one move. Then he took out a medicinal pill from his bosom. Crack! The medicinal pill melted in the gray-robed elder's mouth and entered his body. Boom! Immediately, a terrifying aura emanated from the gray-robed elder's body. Rank 5 quasi-emperor. At this time, the gray-robed elder's cultivation was no longer a half-step, rank 5 quasi-emperor, but a genuine rank 5 quasi-emperor. After his cultivation had risen to rank 5 quasi-emperor, the gray-robed elder's strength had more than doubled. Pucci! He punched out and directly sent the bamboo hat man flying. The bamboo hat man vomited blood and his aura weakened. Bang! 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 Next, the gray-robed elder punched out 3 more times. Tang Hong, the old woman with the walking stick, and Zhou Su were sent flying out of the outer hall of the Crown Prince's palace. The fact that the few of them were sent flying clearly meant that they were going to be eliminated. Enough! The gray-robed elder shouted coldly. There are still 5 of us left. In my opinion, we should not continue fighting among ourselves. We should think about how to eliminate the final 3 victors. The gray-robed elder did not want to fight to the death with Ningyu and Qin He. He knew from the start that among all the cultivators that entered the outer hall, Ningyu and Qin He were the ones that he feared the most. Of course, there was also the half-step rank 5 quasi-emperor, crippled old man. Now that there were only 4 cultivators left, the gray-robed elder naturally did not want to be the fisherman who benefited from their fight. I don't care. Ningyu shrugged and retreated to the back. He had already snatched the scroll and was continuously injecting energy into it. Although the scroll could only injure a peak rank for quasi-emperor when it was fully unleashed, it might be able to injure the gray-robed elder and the crippled old man if it was used properly. I don't care either. Qin, he did not fight for anything. To him, it was fine as long as he could get a spot. That's good. I want to challenge you. The gray-robed elder took a deep breath. He turned to look at the crippled old man and said fiercely, "Let's not beat around the bush. Whoever wins stays, and whoever loses scram. You want to challenge me?" The crippled old man was somewhat surprised. Not only the crippled old man, but even Ningyu and Qin He were somewhat surprised. They had thought that the eliminated cultivators would be among them. After all, their cultivation had not reached rank 5 quasi-emperor, and they were not even half-step rank 5 quasi-emperors. Who would have thought the gray-robed elder actually wanted to challenge the crippled old man? This was a little unexpected. Could they be up to some tricks again? Ningyu frowned slightly, feeling very puzzled. At this moment, he must have thought that the gray-robed elder wanted to scheme against him. There was no reason for the gray-robed elder to want to spar with the crippled old man. Old fox. Qin, he secretly became cautious. Qin, his thoughts were similar to Ningyu's. He also felt that there was a trap. There was definitely something fishy going on. At this moment, he had to be even more careful. Are you sure you want to challenge me? The crippled old man's expression turned somewhat grave. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. I think you should understand this principle. Why don't we join forces and chase them all out? This book came from Chapter 2547. When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Haha, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Since that's the case, don't blame me. The corners of the gray-robed old man's mouth curled up as he smiled faintly. Then he rose from the ground and charged at the lame old man at a terrifying speed. Swoosh! The gray-robed old man's speed was extremely fast. A second ago, he was still at his original spot. The next second, he appeared in front of the lame old man. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at the lame old man's head with a violent energy gale. The gray-robed old man's punch was extremely powerful. If the lame old man was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it! In a moment of desperation, the lame old man cursed and hurriedly dodged to the side. Crack! The gray-robed old man's fist did not hit the lame old man. Instead, it hit a stone pillar behind the lame old man. The stone pillar, which was as thick as a person's waist, broke into 2 on the spot. Do you really want to fight me to the death? The lame old man looked back at the broken stone pillar coldly and said fiercely, Don't think that I'm afraid of you. If we really fight to the death, it's still unknown who will win. So what if I fight to the death? The gray-robed old man said in a deep voice without the slightest fear. Humph! The lame old man snorted coldly and took out a medicinal pill from his bosom. Crack! The medicinal pill melted in his mouth and entered the lame old man's abdomen. Rumble! In an instant, an aura no weaker than the gray-robed old man's emanated from the lame old man and soared into the sky. Rank 5 Quasi-Emperor. Sensing the aura emanating from the lame old man, Ningyu and Qin He's expressions turned grave. Fortunately, they did not exchange blows with the lame old man. Otherwise, they might really fail miserably. Given Ningyu's current strength, his chances of victory against a rank 5 Quasi-Emperor were slim. As for Qin, although he had a certain chance of withstanding the attack of a rank 5 Quasi-Emperor, if they really fought to the death, he would most likely lose. Should we team up later? After thinking for a while, Qin started to send a soul message to Ningyu. He wanted to form a united front with Ningyu. In the current situation, Qin didn't dare to say that he could firmly seize the top 3 positions. If the gray-robed old man and the lame old man stopped fighting, then he or Ningyu would be the one to be kicked out. Being on the same side as Ningyu now was better than being betrayed later. Sure. Ningyu casually glanced at the 2 people fighting and nodded. Everyone was worried that something might happen. Before any unforeseen events occurred, they had to minimize the danger as much as possible. Rumble. As soon as Ningyu and Qin joined hands, the battle on the other side reached its climax. The facts proved that the gray-robed old man really did have some skills. Both he and the lame old man were rank 5 Quasi-Emperors, but he was suppressing the lame old man. If the situation continued like this, it wouldn't be long before the lame old man was defeated. Once the crippled old man was defeated, the 3 spots for the outer hall would be decided. Uft! The gray-robed old man seized the opportunity. A punch landed on the lame old man's chest, sending him flying backward. Swish! He succeeded in 1 blow. The gray-robed old man didn't follow up with another attack. Instead, he floated in the air and looked at the lame old man coldly. Forget it. Heaven is merciful. I'll spare your life today. You win. The lame old man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, See you in the 2nd round. Swish. As soon as he spoke, the lame old man suddenly turned around and charged at Ningyu and Qin. A ball of terrifying energy condensed on his right hand. The lame old man suddenly threw it out between Ningyu and Qin. An indiscriminate attack. The lame old man was more ruthless. He wanted to eliminate both Ningyu and Qin. If Ningyu and Qin were eliminated, and the 18th prince and the 5th prince failed miserably, the final result would be the 18th prince and the 5th prince being eliminated at the same time. You're courting death. Ningyu and Qin attacked without any hesitation. To be honest, the lame old man was completely irrational to attack Ningyu and Qin at the same time. If he attacked Ningyu or Qin alone, the other one would probably stand at the same place and watch the show, not getting involved. However, now that the lame old man wanted to eliminate 2 of them at once, Ningyu and Qin, he would definitely teach him a lesson. Rumble. Ningyu and Qin, didn't hold back. Both of them used their full strength. At his peak, the lame old man should have the upper hand against Ningyu and Qin, with his rank 5 Quasi-Emperor cultivation. However, in his weakened state, the lame old man's overall strength had decreased by at least half. How could he be a match for Ningyu and Qin? Puchi! Ningyu brandished the red demon sword and stabbed the lame old man's chest. Qin, was even more exaggerated. His fist brought a violent gust of wind and chopped off half of the lame old man's head. You're courting death. The lame old man flew into a rage. He roared at Qin and Ningyu. No one in the world can save you. As he spoke, the lame old man took out another elixir from his bosom. Compared to the ones he had taken out before, this pill's medicinal effects were even more violent. Don't let him swallow it. Qin He's expression changed drastically. He knew the name of the elixir the lame old man took out. Violent Dragon Elixir. The so-called Violent Dragon Elixir could give one the power of a violent dragon and the vigorous, immortal qi of a violent dragon. The Violent Dragon Elixir was an Emperor-level elixir, and it was not an early-stage Emperor-level elixir, but a peak early-stage Emperor-level elixir. Once the lame old man swallowed the Violent Dragon Elixir, even if Ningyu and Qin He joined forces, they would not be able to gain the upper hand. Kill! Ningyu naturally knew the severity of the problem. He bellowed, and the red demon sword in his hand suddenly fell. In an instant, a sword ray as thick as a person's waist shot out towards the lame old man. Apricot Blossom Fist. Qin He clenched his right fist and punched through the air. Countless fist lights and Ningyu's sword light attacked the lame old man. Pucci! Just as the lame old man was about to swallow the Violent Dragon Elixir, Ningyu's sword light and Qin He's fist light struck the lame old man's heart at the same time. This attack, the lame old man's heart was pierced on the spot. I can't accept this. The lame old man's pupils constricted, and he lowered his head to look at the hole in his heart. He pointed at Ningyu and Qin He, wanting to say something ruthless, but before he could finish, his body fell backward. Thump! His body hit the ground with a dull thud. At this moment, the lame old man, who was a rank 5 quasi-emperor, was killed by Ningyu and Qin He. I want the Violent Dragon Elixir, and you can have the other things on the lame old man. Without waiting for Ningyu to speak, Qin He said hurriedly, the Violent Dragon Elixir was a life-saving elixir. With the Violent Dragon Elixir, even if Qin He encountered a true rank 5 quasi-emperor in the future, he could easily contend. If used properly, he might even be able to kill a rank 5 quasi-emperor. This book came from Chapter 2548. All right. Although Ningyu was unwilling, he could only choose to compromise. After all, there were only 3 martial artists left in the outer hall of the Crown Prince Palace. If Qin He were to fight with him now, he might not be able to gain the upper hand, and might even fail miserably. Of course, these were all Qin He's own imagination. He thought that Ningyu was afraid, so he gave him the Violent Dragon Elixir, a peak early Emperor level elixir. Little did he know, after he and the Violent Dragon Elixir were in his hands, Ningyu slowly moved to the front of the crippled old man. Squatting down, Ningyu began to search the body of the crippled old man. A moment later, Ningyu got up. However, in Ningyu's hands, there was a jade bottle and a spatial ring. Without a doubt, the jade bottle and spatial ring belonged to the crippled old man. If Qin He knew what was in the jade bottle and spatial ring, he would probably vomit blood. There were a total of 5 Emperor-level elixirs in the jade bottle. As for the spatial ring, it was even more exaggerated. There were countless 2-realm stones, enlightenment stones, Dao fruits, and even 100 drops of inferior Emperor spirit liquid, as well as a few drops of quasi-emperor blood essence. Ningyu could judge. These quasi-emperor blood essence should be high-level quasi-emperor blood essence. At this stage, for Ningyu, these things were more useful than a Violent Dragon Elixir. After all, it took some time to swallow the Violent Dragon Elixir. Even a second was enough to be fatal. Congratulations, you have advanced. Ningyu had just received the jade bottle and spatial ring when the Emperor Lord's voice rang in their ears. Creak! Then, the door of the outer hall was pushed open. Ningyu, Qin He, and the gray-robed old man. They walked out a few steps apart. Among them, Ningyu represented the 5th prince, Yang Yuming. Qin, he represented the 18th prince, Yang Zhaokai. The gray-robed old man represented the 25th prince, Yang Qian. Creak. Just as Ningyu and the others left the outer hall, the tightly shut door to the inner hall slowly opened. Similarly, 3 cultivators walked out side by side. In the middle was the 18th Prince Yang Zhaokai, on the left was the 25th Prince Yang Qian, and on the right was the 5th Prince Yang Yeming. Unanimous. It was surprisingly consistent. The victorious warriors of the inner and outer halls belonged to the same faction. Yang Yeming is indeed hiding something. Ningyu frowned slightly, feeling a little surprised. To be honest, he was already prepared for Yang Yeming's defeat. Unexpectedly, Yang Yeming was so powerful that he could actually obtain a seat among so many princes. The 25th prince is hiding his strength well. Ningyu then looked at Yang Qian. Before, no one had expected Yang Qian to win. Even the few rank 6 quasi-emperors hidden in the void did not expect Yang Qian to stand out. Voila! When Yang Yeming and the others walked out of the inner hall, the god monarch's words echoed in everyone's ears once more. Congratulations on winning the first stage. Next, the second stage of the test will be even more brutal. The god monarch's gaze was sharp as he stared at Yang Yeming and said in a deep voice, Yang Yeming, go and challenge Yang Zhaokai. If you win, you will enter the next round. If you lose, you will be directly eliminated. Boom! The god monarch's words caused a huge uproar in the surroundings. Not only Yang Yeming, even Ningyu and Qin, he were somewhat surprised. Let Yang Yeming challenge Yang Zhaokai? If that was the case, didn't it mean that Yang Qian did not need to fight and could easily enter the next round? Russell, Yang Yeming and Yang Zhaokai knew that the god monarch always meant what he said. The two of them took a step forward at the same time, cupped their hands at each other, and then began the battle. Rumble. Originally, Yang Yeming was just a late-stage, rank 1 quasi-emperor. It was unknown what he experienced in the inner hall, but now his cultivation had reached early stage, rank 2 quasi-emperor. As for Yang Zhaokai, he was even more terrifying. His cultivation was late stage, rank 2 quasi-emperor. The battle between Yang Yeming and Yang Zhaokai was very exciting. All kinds of magic arts flew everywhere. You punched me. I punched you. The scene was very lively. What the hell is the god monarch doing? Qin He's expression did not change, but he secretly became cautious in his heart. Could it be that the god monarch discovered Yang Zhaokai's secret? Actually, Qin He faintly guessed some things. Yang Zhaokai colluded with a heavenly demon. In fact, Yang Zhaokai himself was a heavenly demon. Of course, this was just Qin He's guess. Even if he knew Yang Zhaokai's true identity, he would not make it public either. After all, Yang Zhaokai could provide him with large amounts of resources for him to cultivate, to help him break through to rank 5 quasi-emperor, rank 6 quasi-emperor, and even rank 7 quasi-emperor. Ningyu, what good things did you get inside? In midair, Yang Yeming was still fighting with Yang Zhaokai when Ning Lu and Ao Xing quietly arrived in front of Ningyu. The one who spoke was Ning Lu. He used his nose to sniff at Ningyu's body and then said, "You have a quasi-emperor blood essence, and it's even a high-level quasi-emperor blood essence. Quickly give me a few drops. I want to break through to rank 4 quasi-emperor." "I want a few drops too," Ao Xing echoed. Ningyu rolled his eyes. The quasi-emperor blood essence was in the spatial ring, and he put it in the red fiend sword. Did Ning Lu have a dog's nose? How did he find out? However, thinking about it, Ningyu still said, "There are a total of 6 drops of high-level quasi-emperor blood essence. I'll keep 1. The Dark Emperor has 1, the Red Fiend has 1, and the 2 of you 1 each." I'll leave the rest for the others. Ningyu's parents, Water Moon Fairy, and the others were all at the 5th prince's residence. A drop of high-level quasi-emperor blood essence should be able to help them break through to the immortal king realm, or even the peak of the immortal king realm. All right, even though Ning Lu was unwilling, he could only nod. For him, swallowing a drop of quasi-emperor blood essence would give him an 80% chance of breaking through to rank for quasi-emperor. As for Ao Xing, if he used a drop of quasi-emperor blood essence, coupled with his own situation, he would have a 90% chance of breaking through to rank for quasi-emperor. Rumble. On the other side, Ning Yu had just finished distributing the quasi-emperor blood essence. On the other side, the battle had reached its climax. Yang Zhaokai swallowed an emperor-level medicinal pill, and his cultivation directly rose to the peak of rank 2 quasi-emperor realm. Yang Yiming did not want to lag behind. He drank a mouthful of golden liquid, and his cultivation also rose to the peak of rank 2 quasi-emperor realm. Trump card. This was their absolute trump card. I can't compare to them. Yang Qian shook his head slightly when he saw the intense battle between Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai. He also had a trump card. However, his trump card was far from Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai's. Even if he used his trump card, his cultivation could only rise to the peak of rank 2 quasi-emperor realm. For a genius, even a small difference in cultivation level was enough to be fatal. In fact, in the inner hall of the Crown Prince's palace, the three of them had first worked together to defeat the others, and then they had sparred with each other. At that time, he had lost to Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai by a single move. Don't panic, 25th Prince. As if reading Yang Qian's mind, the gray-robed elder quietly came to his side and asked in a low voice, "What is this?" As he spoke, the gray-robed elder took out a medicinal pill and quietly stuffed it into Yang Qian's hands. This book came from Chapter 2549. This is... As soon as he took the pill, Yang Qian's expression changed. The pill that the elder gave him was of an extremely high grade. Although it was not a mid-emperor pill, in a sense its effects were comparable to a mid-emperor pill. How precious was a mid-emperor pill? It could be said that even a high-level quasi-emperor would covet it. Don't make a fuss. The elder looked around and said in a low voice, while everyone else is watching the battle between Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai, quickly consume it and try to raise your cultivation to rank 3 quasi-emperor. Yang Qian did not speak, but hid the pill in his sleeve, activated a technique, and began to refine it carefully. If it was under normal circumstances, if Yang Qian were to refine this pill, it would definitely be discovered by others. But now, everyone's attention was on Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai, who would notice Yang Qian. Of course, among so many people, there would definitely be a weirdo. Ning Yu. That's right, this weirdo was Ning Yu. At first, Ning Yu's attention was on Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai, but as the battle progressed, he vaguely realized that Yang Qian was unusual. Logically speaking, as one of the 3 victorious princes, Yang Qian would definitely spar with the winner of Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai. Under such circumstances, he did not watch the battle, but instead closed his eyes to rest. To be honest, this was not normal. I see. Ning Yu looked at it for a while and found some clues. After all, the pill that Yang Qian was consuming was a peak early emperor pill, comparable to the violent dragon pill. Even with the elder's help to seal the void, this level of pill still emitted some medicinal power. Ning Yu was able to determine something from the medicinal efficacy that was emitted. However, Ning Yu was not stupid enough to expose Yang Qian. He did not know if he would be able to meet Yang Qian next. Once Yang Yiming was defeated, Yang Yiming would be out of the fight for the position of Crown Prince. Only if Yang Yiming defeated Yang Zhaokai would he be able to fight Yang Qian head-on. Poof! In midair, Yang Zhaokai took advantage of Yang Yiming's mistake and punched him in the chest. The enormous force directly sent Yang Yiming flying. His body heavily smashed onto the ground, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Surrender. Yang Zhaokai did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he floated in the air with his arms crossed in front of his chest. Your strength is far from mine, even if you forcefully raise your cultivation to the peak of the second order. You are still no match for me. Really? Yan Yeming wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at Yang Zhaokai, and said, I'm afraid it's still too early to say these things. Yang Zhaokai raised his eyebrows and said, Could it be that you still have other trump cards? Both sides had already fought to this extent. To be honest, even if Yan Yeming had a trump card, Yang Zhaokai was not afraid of anything. There was no other reason. Yang Zhaokai also had a trump card. Of course. Yan Yeming growled and immediately took out a talisman from his bosom, a high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. The talisman that Yan Yeming took out was a high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. The power of this talisman was extremely powerful. In the case of a sneak attack, even a rank 5 quasi-emperor would be killed. However, Yang Zhaokai would not foolishly watch Yan Yeming activate the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. At their level, victory or defeat was decided in an instant. As long as Yang Yeming dared to use the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman, Yang Zhaokai had absolute confidence in defeating him. Open! Yang Yeming did not seem to play his cards according to common sense. He growled and threw out the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman in his hand. What the F***CK? For real? Yang Zhaokai was a little confused. He did not expect that Yan Yeming would directly use the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. One had to know that the activation time of a high-grade quasi-emperor talisman required 1 second. One should not underestimate this second. Yang Zhaokai had absolute confidence in defeating Yan Yeming in this second. Since you're seeking death, then don't blame me. Yang Zhaokai's eyes revealed a decisive look. Gritting his teeth, he took out another medicinal pill and threw it into his mouth. Boom! The medicinal pill entered his stomach. Yang Zhaokai's aura directly soared from peak rank 2 quasi-emperor to rank 3 quasi-emperor. Break! After advancing to rank 3 quasi-emperor, Yang Zhaokai clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman that Yan Yeming threw out. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. The high-grade quasi-emperor talisman that Yan Yeming took out shattered on the spot. Not good. However, the instant the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman shattered, Yan Yeming tore the void and arrived beside Yang Zhaokai. Furthermore, Yan Yeming gathered all the energy in his body into his fist and ruthlessly punched at Yang Zhaokai's chest. Bang! Without a doubt, Yang Zhaokai's attention was practically all on the high-grade quasi-emperor talisman. He only discovered it when Yan Yeming's fist arrived in front of him. But at this time, Yang Zhaokai discovered that it was clearly a little too late. Yan Yeming's fist that contained terrifying energy could not be avoided and bombarded Yang Zhaokai's chest. The huge force directly sent Yang Zhaokai flying backward. Poochie! Fresh blood spurted out of his mouth. The current Yang Zhaokai was much more miserable than Yan Yeming earlier. You lost. Yan Yeming similarly floated in midair after his attack succeeded. He looked at Yang Zhaokai coldly and said, The position of Crown Prince is completely fated with you. I didn't lose, I still have it. Yang Zhaokai stood up with difficulty, wanting to say something, but before his voice faded, he vomited another mouthful of blood. Buzz! In the void, the Emperor appeared the right time. He swept a glance over Yan Yeming and Yang Zhaokai, saying indifferently, Yang Zhaokai is eliminated. In the next round, Yan Yeming and Ning, you will join forces to deal with Yang Qian and Qin Feng. The battle begins immediately. Whoosh! The Emperor's words caused the surrounding martial artists to be somewhat moved. What did the Emperor mean? Yang Zhaokai was eliminated. Everyone could understand. After all, he lost to Yang Yeming. However, Yang Yeming had just experienced a great battle. Letting him fight with Yang Qian at this time was extremely disadvantageous to him. Moreover, there was another point. Everyone could tell that the gray-robed old man called Qin Feng had a cultivation of rank 5 quasi-emperor. Ning Yu's cultivation was merely an early stage, rank 3 quasi-emperor. Would an early stage, rank 3 quasi-emperor have a chance of winning against a rank 5 quasi-emperor? The answer was clearly no. Please. The emperor's decision benefited Yang Qian the most. He took a step forward and made an inviting gesture, saying, "Fifth brother, let's split it up. You and I will exchange pointers. Qin Feng and Ning Yu will exchange pointers. And only the winner will exchange pointers. How about it?" Yang Qian's idea was very simple. Qin Feng's victory over Ning Yu was a sure thing. As long as he defeated Yang Yeming, the final position of Crown Prince would be his. However, he was also afraid of failing miserably. Chapter 2550. In that case, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Yang Yeming glanced at Ningyu, then leaped up and charged at Yang Qian. Rumble. The battle between the two erupted in an instant. Yang Qian displayed his rank 3 quasi-emperor cultivation from the get-go, and was practically suppressing Yang Yeming. On the other hand, Yang Yeming, he had just finished fighting with Yang Zhaokai and had yet to recover to his peak state, and was nearly defeated several times. On the other side, Ningyu and Qin Feng did not start fighting. The two of them stood where they were, looking at each other, neither knowing what the other was thinking. Just a little more. Ning Yu did not make a move because he was refining the blood essence of a high-level quasi-emperor. His cultivation was only at rank 3 quasi-emperor, and if he really fought with Qin Feng, who was a rank 5 quasi-emperor, his chances of winning were very low. Therefore, he had been refining the blood essence from the beginning, striving to break through to rank 3 quasi-emperor as soon as possible. As long as he could break through to rank 3 quasi-emperor, even if he faced Qin Feng, who had just become a rank 5 quasi-emperor, he had a chance of winning. After all, Qin Feng had just advanced to rank 5 quasi-emperor and had not completely stabilized. As for Qin Feng, his thoughts were actually similar to Ningyu's. When Ningyu and Qin, he joined forces to kill the lame old man in the outer hall of the Crown Prince's palace, he was very shocked. Now that he had not recovered to his peak state, he naturally did not dare to take the initiative to attack. To ensure that nothing went wrong, he was refining medicinal pills to recover, striving to recover to peak state before fighting with Ningyu. The scene suddenly became a little strange. Yes, it was strange. Yang Yeming and Yang Qian were fighting. Their two advisors stood where they were, with no intention of making a move. This is really infuriating. The most depressed was Yang Zhaokai. He was simply about to explode from anger. Originally, he should have been the one fighting with Yang Qian. After all, his strength was stronger than Yang Yeming's. However, Yang Yeming dared to fight and was willing to give up some things. Yang Yeming gave up a high-level quasi-emperor talisman, otherwise he would not have been able to defeat him. There should still be a chance. Although Qin He's face was gloomy, it seemed to be a lot better than Yang Zhaokai's. He pursed his lips at the sovereign emperor in midair and said, "The sovereign emperor must have his reasons for arranging for you to fight Yang Yeming first. If nothing goes wrong, as long as you take the initiative to ask, you'll have at least one additional chance to challenge him." Huh. Hearing Qin He's analysis, Yang Zhaokai frowned slightly. In fact, what Qin He said was not without reason. After all, he had just finished sparring with Yang Yeming, and the Celestial Emperor had arranged for Yang Yeming to spar with Yang Qian. This arrangement was clearly to prevent Yang Yeming from seizing the position of Crown Prince. Got it. Suddenly, Yang Zhaokai seemed to have thought of something. He slapped his head, and a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. The supporter behind Yang Yeming was the Lingyun sect. As for the Lingyun sect, it was the sect that Yang Yeming's mother belonged to. However, a few years ago, the cloud-soaring sect leader had offended an emperor. If Yang Yeming's mother had not pleaded on behalf of the soaring cloud sect leader, the soaring cloud sect would have been destroyed. Now that the emperor had suddenly made this arrangement, there was naturally a deeper meaning behind it. I see. The more Yang Zhaokai thought about it, the more excited he got. It was to the extent that he felt that the position of crown prince was none other than him. Because after Yang Yeming and Yang Qian fought, his vitality would definitely be greatly depleted. No matter which of the two of them won, the one who benefited in the end would be him. Between Ningyu and Qin Feng, with Qin he strength, the victor between them was also something that was in the bag. Bang! While Yang Zhaokai was still thinking, the outcome of the battle in midair was already decided. As everyone expected, Yang Qian, whose cultivation was at rank 3 quasi-emperor realm, had the upper hand from the start. In the end, he still had the upper hand. He seized an opportunity and domineeringly defeated Yang Yeming, falling onto the ground, his complexion pale. It could be seen. Yang Qian's attacks were extremely ruthless, without the slightest intention of holding back. If not for Ningyu admitting defeat on Yang Yeming's behalf, Yang Qian would likely have continued to launch attacks. Old Qin, it's up to you next. Yang Qian withdrew helplessly and said to Qin Feng. The current Yang Qian was somewhat regretful in his heart. If he had known that Yang Yeming was so weak, he would definitely have changed his mind. If he had reached an agreement with Yang Yeming earlier, and the victor was the crown prince, wouldn't Qin Feng not need to fight with Ningyu? Although Yang Qian thought highly of Qin Feng, who knew if Ningyu had any trump cards? Yang Qian was very clear. How intense was the battle in the outer hall of the crown prince's palace. Even someone as strong as the crippled old man was killed by the joint attack of Ningyu and Qin He. Under such circumstances, he did not believe that Ningyu had no trump cards. No problem. Qin Feng nodded, then said to Ningyu, "You go first. Your cultivation is weaker than mine, so I'll let you make the first move, in case you don't even have a chance to attack later." "Many thanks." Ning, you did not stand on ceremony. He directly drew out the red demon sword and slashed in the air. Qin Feng had recovered to his peak, and Ningyu had also advanced to the middle stage of the third order quasi-emperor. The reason why Qin Feng let Ningyu make the first move was that he wanted to judge Ningyu's true battle prowess through Ningyu's first move. If Ningyu was too strong, he would directly use his full strength to defeat Ningyu. If Ningyu was too weak, then he would properly play with Ningyu. Chi! The sword light that Ningyu slashed out was only as thick as an arm, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived before Qin Feng. Insignificant skill. Qin Feng casually threw out a fist light, which unavoidably collided with the sword light. The two collided. The sword light and the fist light disappeared at the same time, as if they had never appeared. You can withstand a punch with 30% of my strength. Qin Feng's expression gradually turned serious. The power of his punch just now was equivalent to 30% of his peak. Although he did not know how much of the power of Ningyu's sword light was equivalent to that of his peak, he knew that Ningyu was indeed a little difficult to deal with. He did not know whether Ningyu was strong or not, but Ningyu was really not weak. Use my full strength. Qin Feng's eyes flashed as he clenched his right hand into a fist and directly punched at Ningyu. This punch, Qin Feng directly used his full strength, not holding back at all. How powerful was the full strength of a fifth-order quasi-emperor in the eyes of the surrounding crowd, not to mention that Ningyu was a middle-stage third-order quasi-emperor. Even if Ningyu was a peak quasi-emperor of the three realms, he might not be able to withstand it. However, how could Ningyu be judged by common sense? Injecting energy into the red demon sword, Ning Yu similarly used his full strength. Crack! The next moment, a crisp sound rang out. Then, Qin Feng revealed a horrified expression and hurriedly retreated. How is this possible? Beside him, Yang Qian stared blankly at the palm that had fallen to the ground, completely dumbfounded. The palm of a fifth-order quasi-emperor, Qin Feng, was actually chopped off by an early third-order quasi-emperor? Not only Yang Qian, but the surrounding martial artists, including Ning, Lu, and Ao Xing, also did not dare to believe it. Wasn't this too terrifying? Chapter 2551. Devour. Seeing Qin Feng retreat, Ning Yu flicked his wrist and tossed out the red demon sword. Qi. The red demon sword stuck to Qin Feng's severed hand, and a violent, devouring power surged out. It only took 1 second. Qin Feng's hand was completely devoured and turned into nothingness. Gulp! Ning Yu forcefully severed Qin Feng's hand and used the red demon sword to devour it, causing the surrounding martial artists to swallow a mouthful of saliva. They had seen low-level quasi-emperors fighting mid-level quasi-emperors before. Most of the martial artists of the Divine Wind Empire's Law Enforcement Hall could do this. However, the martial artists of the Law Enforcement Hall were all rank 3 quasi-emperors fighting rank 4 quasi-emperors. Ning Yu, on the other hand, he had defeated Qin Feng with the cultivation of a rank 3 quasi-emperor. You're courting death. The immortal qi in Qin Feng's body surged and gradually poured into his arm, using the immortal qi to reform his hand. At Qin Feng's level of cultivation, he already possessed the ability to reform his hand. Not long later, his palm was unscathed. But everyone knew that, no matter how one looked at it, the new palm that Qin Feng had condensed was weaker than the previous one. He took a deep breath. Qin Feng looked coldly at Ning Yu and said fiercely, "I will let you know what a real rank 5 quasi-emperor is." As he spoke, Qin Feng bent his legs slightly, and his body shot out like a sharp sword. Qi, qi, qi. Qin Feng's speed was so fast that the friction with the air produced a hissing sound. In a mere 1 second, Qin Feng arrived in front of Ning Yu and used his left fist, which contained a terrifying energy fluctuation, to punch Ning Yu's head. Qin Feng was very smart. He knew that his right hand had just been formed, and its power was extremely weak. Using his right hand to deal with Ning Yu might not be of any use. Therefore, he used his left hand to deal with Ning Yu, hoping to inflict serious damage on Ning Yu. However, the ideal was great, but the reality was harsh. Condensing his right palm consumed too much of Qin Feng's energy. Under such circumstances, how could Qin Feng hurt Ning Yu? Kacha! His left palm had just arrived in front of Ning Yu when Ning Yu brandished the red demon sword and slashed out. A crisp sound rang out. Then, Qin Feng's pupils shrank, and he quickly retreated. The same scene, the same result. However, this time the palm that was severed was not the right hand, but the left hand. Chi. Ning Yu controlled the red demon sword and quickly devoured Qin Feng's left palm. After losing 2 palms in a row, Qin Feng's heart was bleeding. Although he could condense a new palm, every time he did so he would need to expend a lot of energy and even some vitality. Now that both of his palms had been chopped off and devoured by the red demon sword, Qin Feng's heart was bleeding. Admit defeat. If you continue to fight, your entire body will be devoured. Ning Yu floated in the air, holding the red demon sword in his hand as he looked at Qin Feng and said calmly, "In truth, if the battle continued, there was a chance that Ning Yu would completely devour Qin Feng. However, there was also a chance that he would lose. After all, Qin Feng was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. He should still have some trump cards. If they fought head-on, it was likely that both sides would suffer. Furthermore, with Yang Qian here, he probably would not watch as Qin Feng was killed. At the last moment, Yang Qian would probably admit defeat on Qin Feng's behalf. In that case, if the battle continued, Ning Yu would not be able to obtain any benefits. You want me to admit defeat? Dream on. Chen Feng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and condensed his left hand again. He said coldly, "You are indeed strong, but your soul power is not as strong as mine." Swish! In an instant, the soul power in Chen Feng's body surged out and frantically pressed toward Ningyu. In terms of martial strength, Chen Feng knew that even if he could defeat Ningyu, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. Furthermore, the possibility of him winning was very low, even lower than the possibility of Ningyu defeating him. Using soul power to attack Ningyu was the wisest choice. Soul power? Ningyu's expression was calm. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his emotions. After advancing to the mid-stage, rank 3 Quasi-Emperor, the strength of Ningyu's soul power was no weaker than an ordinary rank 5 Quasi-Emperor's. If Chen Feng wanted to defeat him with soul power, it would be more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Perhaps I can completely devour him. Ningyu's gaze swept around as he thought to himself. As long as he could defeat Qin Feng's soul power, Qin Feng would most likely become a fool. Once Qin Feng became a fool, Ningyu had absolute confidence that he could control Qin Feng. After controlling Qin Feng and bringing him back to the 5th prince's residence, wouldn't he be able to do anything to him? What is Ningyu doing? Who knows? He's probably scared out of his wits. That's possible. Qin Feng's attainments in the Tao of the Soul are very profound. In terms of the martial way, he is on par with Ningyu. In terms of the Tao of the Soul, he should be able to easily crush Ningyu. Not necessarily. Some quasi-emperors objected. To be able to face a rank 5 quasi-emperor head-on and gain the upper hand, Ningyu is not a hothead. In my opinion, Ningyu is completely capable of defeating Qin Feng's soul power. That's right. Qin Feng's defeat is only a matter of time. Next, it will depend on whether Prince Yang Qian has a way to deal with Ningyu. Haha, Ningyu can even defeat Qin Feng. Why would he be afraid of Prince Yang Qian? There were 2 factions. One supported Ningyu, and the other supported Qin Feng. After all, the position of crown prince would appear between Yang Yiming and Yang Qian. Although it was risky to choose a side now, the benefits were also greater. After all, adding flowers to embroidery was not as good as providing timely help. Pucci! While the crowd was still discussing, the clash in the air had already begun. Qin Feng's soul power surged out, wanting to defeat Ningyu with lightning speed. Who would have thought Ningyu's soul power had a terrifying defensive power? For a moment, Qin Feng was unable to break through Ningyu's soul power defensive barrier. Whoosh! On the other hand, Ningyu, as he constructed his soul power defensive barrier, he secretly separated a wisp of soul power and tore through the void, arriving in front of Qin Feng's physical body. Pucci! This wisp of soul power was Ningyu's origin soul power. Ordinary soul power was far from enough to control a rank 5 quasi-emperor like Qin Feng. He needed origin soul power to have a chance of success. After all, no one knew if Qin Feng had any backup plans. If Ningyu ambushed him, there was a chance that he would succeed or fail. But this time, Ningyu's worries were superfluous. In order to defeat Ningyu, Qin Feng unleashed all the soul power in his body, not holding anything back. Without any soul power, how could Qin Feng block Ningyu's soul power attack with just his physical body? Ah! A miserable shriek rang out. Ningyu's origin soul power entered Qin Feng's mind, completely taking over his body. Ningyu was ruthless. Chapter 2552. Battle. You. After the connection with his physical body was severed, Chen Feng's soul power became extremely fearful. This feeling made him extremely flustered. If he could not return his soul power to his physical body within the specified time, then his soul power would become a lonely soul. As for the soul power that had become a lonely soul, it couldn't exist for a long time. Unless he could find a new host or a treasure that could preserve his soul power, the lonely soul would automatically dissipate. What about you? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said to Chen Feng's soul, "You have two choices now. First, submit to me. Second, I will destroy your soul power." Originally, Ningyu could only defend against Chen Feng's soul attack and could not destroy his soul power. But now his origin soul power had severed the connection between Chen Feng's soul and physical body, causing the might of Chen Feng's soul power to decrease greatly. After descending, Ningyu could completely destroy the soul body. Damn it! Chen Feng cursed in his heart. He had no choice but to seriously consider this. Actually, Chen Feng wanted to inform Yang Qian to admit defeat on his behalf. Unfortunately, his soul power was firmly sealed by Ningyu, so he could not send any information to the outside world, unless a sovereign emperor or a high-level quasi-emperor appeared. Even a rank 6 quasi-emperor would not know his current situation. "Have you thought about it?" Ningyu asked indifferently 3 minutes later. "Yes, I choose to submit." Chen Feng gritted his teeth and decided to submit to Ningyu first. Once his soul power returned to his physical body, he would then tangle with Ningyu. He believed that as long as his soul force fused with his physical body, he would have the capital to fight against Ningyu. After all, he still had many trump cards that he had not used. Enter the red demon sword. Ningyu suddenly tossed out the red demon sword. Swish! Chen Feng did not hesitate. His soul power turned into a blur and entered the red demon sword. "I admit defeat." The distant Chen Feng said the moment Chen Feng's soul entered the red demon sword. Without a doubt, it was Ningyu's soul force that was controlling Chen Feng to speak. Voila! Chen Feng's admission of defeat caused a huge uproar in the crowd. Ningyu had actually defeated Chen Feng, a rank 5 quasi-emperor. Good stuff! As soon as Chen Feng admitted defeat, Ning Lu revealed an ecstatic expression. Others might not know, but Ning Lu was very clear about it. Chen Feng's soul power was currently trapped within the red demon sword. Ning Lu was burning with anxiety. He wanted to enter the red demon sword to swallow Chen Feng's soul energy and refine the essence blood of a high-ranked quasi-emperor. He was different from Ningyu. Ningyu could refine the blood essence of a high-level quasi-emperor here to break through to mid-third rank for quasi-emperor, but he and Ao Xing could not. There was no other reason. Ao Xing was a true dragon, and he was the world tree. If he refined the essence blood of a high-ranked quasi-emperor here, he might expose his identity. 25th Prince, it's your turn. Ningyu did not care about Chen Feng. He turned to look at Yang Qian and said indifferently, "According to what you said before, as long as I can defeat you, the position of crown prince will be the 5th prince's." That's right. Yang Qian gritted his teeth. This was the pit that he dug. No matter what, he had to fill it up. Taking a deep breath, Yang Qian secretly encouraged himself. He was an early 3rd rank for quasi-emperor, while Ningyu was a mid-3rd rank for quasi-emperor. In terms of cultivation, he was a minor level lower than Ningyu. Furthermore, he still had some trump cards. Ningyu had just experienced a huge battle, so he might have a way to defeat Ningyu. "You are a prince. I'll let you make the first move," Ningyu said with a smile when he saw that Yang Qian did not renege on his words. "Okay." Yang Qian stomped his feet and his body shot out. The first move. Yang Qian did not hold back and used his full strength. Yang Qian was very clear. This might be his only chance. Since Ningyu was passively defending, he could only use his full strength to see if he could defeat Ningyu when Ningyu was careless. Otherwise, if Ningyu took the initiative to attack, his chances of winning would be very slim. His strength is not bad. Ning, you did not panic too much when he saw Yang Qian charging at him. To be honest, Yang Qian's strength was only SO. Perhaps he could defeat an ordinary mid-third rank for Quasi-Emperor, but Ningyu is not the same as an ordinary mid-third rank for Quasi-Emperor. Given his current strength, he could probably defeat more than 10 mid-third rank for Quasi-Emperors at the same time. Bang! In an instant, Yang Qian's fist arrived in front of Ningyu and directly landed on Ningyu's chest. Along with a clear and melodious sound rang out. Ningyu did not move from his original position. On the other hand, Yang Qian was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight to the ground. Bang! The sound of flesh hitting the ground could be heard. Uft! Immediately, Yang Qian spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped from the early third rank for Quasi-Emperor realm to that of a rank 1 Quasi-Emperor realm. Moreover, it was still descending. Not long after, Yang Qian's aura dropped to the heaven receiving realm. I lost. Yang Qian stood up with difficulty, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said to Yang Yiming, "The position of Crown Prince belongs to you." After saying this, Yang Qian left without looking back, disappearing from everyone's sight. Sha sha sha. Yang Qian's front foot had just disappeared when Yang Zhaokai took a step forward and said in a clear voice, "I want to spar with Yang Yiming again. Just now, I was on the verge of breaking through and was unable to unleash my full strength." Boom! Yang Zhaokai's words caused a commotion among the crowd. Originally, everyone was prepared to be on good terms with Yang Yiming. Even those forces that had sided with Yang Zhaokai wanted to switch to Yang Yiming. But now, Yang Zhaokai came out and interfered, catching everyone off guard. Swish! In an instant, the surrounding martial artists shifted their gazes to midair. Whether Yang Zhaokai could spar with Yang Yiming depended on the emperor. The emperor's opinion was very important. If the emperor approved Yang Zhaokai's request, then the position of crown prince would be more inclined to Yang Zhaokai. But if the emperor rejected Yang Zhaokai's request, then Yang Yiming would be the crown prince. In midair, the emperor supported his chin with both hands in a contemplative manner. According to the emperor's thoughts, he was more inclined to let Yang Zhaokai be the crown prince, because he had enmity with the forces on Yang Yiming's mother's side. However, the position of crown prince was of great importance. In another day, the Sacred Mountains Assembly would be held. At that time, the forces of the 100 Forest Domain, big and small, would send their geniuses over. The Divine Wind Empire's quota would be obtained by the crown prince. The emperor could see it. If it was a life and death battle, Yang Zhaokai was much stronger than Yang Yiming. The reason why Yang Zhaokai was defeated was because of his carelessness, and because Yang Yiming gave up a high-level quasi-emperor talisman. High-level quasi-emperor talismans were extremely precious. It was not that Yang Yiming was too strong, but that he was more willing to give up something. After pondering for a moment, the emperor said in a clear voice, "Let's do it this way. Yang Yiming and Yang Zhaokai will spar. The winner will be the crown prince, and the loser..." At this point, the emperor paused for a moment. Chapter 2553. Chapter 2553. Chapter 2553. Cruel. Divine Wind Pool. Hearing the emperor mention the Divine Wind Pool, the expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed. The Divine Wind Pool was the most mysterious place in the Divine Wind Empire. All the martial artists who went in to cultivate, without exception, were able to increase their cultivation by 1 level. Of course, it was limited to those below rank 5 Quasi-Emperor. In other words, a rank 1 Quasi-Emperor could raise their cultivation to rank 2 Quasi-Emperor after cultivating for a day. Rank 2 quasi-emperor could raise their cultivation to rank 3 quasi-emperor, and rank 3 quasi-emperor could raise their cultivation to rank 4 quasi-emperor. As for rank 4 quasi-emperor, they could only raise their cultivation to peak rank 4 quasi-emperor and not rank 5 quasi-emperor. But even so, it was enough to make everyone envious. Yang Yeming and Yang Zhaokai were both peak rank 2 quasi-emperors. Even if they lost, they could still advance to rank 3 quasi-emperor. Emperor, I don't think this is appropriate. Ning, you looked at Yang Yeming, then at the confident Yang Zhaokai. He took a step forward and said, "The 5th prince has already fought twice in a short period of time. He defeated the 18th prince and lost to the 25th prince. Under such circumstances, the chances of him winning against the 18th prince will be very slim," Jian Wushuang said. The emperor raised his eyebrows. He looked at Ningyu with interest and asked, "In your opinion, what should we do?" "It's simple. I will spar with Qin He." Ningyu was neither servile nor overbearing. Strictly speaking, Ningyu really did not want to face the emperor head-on. After all, the emperor was a high-level quasi-emperor. If he paid attention to him, he might discover some of his secrets. But now it was a matter of life and death. Yang Yeming would lose, without a doubt, if he sparred with Yang Zhaokai. Once Yang Zhaokai became the crown prince, he would definitely invite him to the 18th prince's residence as a guest. Although it was a guest, it was actually a hangmen banquet. "What do you think?" The emperor did not answer Ningyu directly. He turned to look at Yang Zhaokai and asked. Yang Zhaokai's heart skipped a beat. However, he maintained his composure and said, "I don't mind. Qin, he also wants to exchange pointers with Ningyu. Why don't we let Qin, he, and Ningyu fight?" Yang Zhaokai's lungs were about to explode. If Qin He and Ningyu were to exchange pointers, some unforeseen events might occur. However, the current situation did not allow Yang Zhaokai to have any opinions. There were so many princes and quasi-emperors around. If he dared to forcefully exchange pointers with Yang Yeming, those princes would probably join forces to deal with him. All right, the next battle will be between Qin He and Ningyu. The imperial monarch waved his hand, and then he tore open space and entered it. Everyone could see that. Before the sovereign emperor left, his expression was a little cold. "I'm afraid the emperor's choice of crown prince is the 18th prince, Yang Zhaokai. Isn't that obvious? If the 5th prince, Yang Yeming, wishes to defy the heavens and change his fate, he will have to see if the emperor agrees to it. Let's just wait and watch the show. Whoever wins the position of crown prince, we will submit to him." That's right. Everyone discussed animatedly. This was the reality. If Ningyu defeated Qin He, then Yang Yeming would be the crown prince, and everyone would definitely choose to curry favor with Yang Yeming. If Qin He defeated Ningyu, then Yang Zhaokai would be the crown prince, and everyone would definitely choose to curry favor with Yang Zhaokai. "Ningyu, I've already swallowed the tyrant dragon elixir. Surrender." Qin He placed his hands behind his back, looked at Ningyu and said indifferently, "With my current strength, I can even easily defeat a rank 5 quasi-emperor. You are not a match for me. We haven't even exchanged blows, and you are already so sure that I am not a match for you?" Ningyu glanced at Qin He, his expression calm. To be honest, Qin He had swallowed the tyrant dragon elixir, and his strength had indeed increased a lot. However, this was not enough to make Ningyu afraid. After all, the tyrant dragon elixir had a time limit. 3 minutes. At most 3 minutes, the effects of the tyrant dragon elixir would fade. At that time, how could Qin He fight with him? Of course, Qin He shouted in a low voice, then rose from the ground. His fist carried a violent energy wave as it smashed toward Ningyu's head. The might of this punch was terrifyingly strong. An ordinary peak rank for quasi-emperor would not be able to block it. After swallowing the tyrant dragon elixir, Qin He's strength had more than doubled. When he attacked with his full strength, even a rank 5 quasi-emperor would have to avoid him. Chop! Ning Yu's pupils constricted, and the red demon's sword in his hand slashed through the air. Whoosh! In an instant, several sword lights flew out, surrounding Qin He from all directions. Crack! Crack! However, the might of Qin He's fist was very terrifying. The moment it came into contact with the sword lights, it shattered them. Interesting. Qin He raised his eyebrows and looked at Ningyu. I did not expect your strength to increase so quickly. It seems like I have to teach you a lesson today. Otherwise, if I let you continue to grow, the consequences will be dire. In Qin He's opinion, Ningyu was different from Yang Yiming. When he sparred with Yang Yiming, he definitely could not injure Yang Yiming. However, when he sparred with Ningyu, he could injure Ningyu. In fact, he could even kill Ningyu if he was careless. After all, he knew that the emperor's choice for crown prince was Yang Zhaokai. Even if he killed Ningyu, the emperor would not say anything. You are not weak either, Ningyu said seriously. At the same time, Ningyu continuously poured the energy in his body into the red demon's sword and slashed with it. Whoosh! This time, only one sword light shot out. However, the might of this sword light was more terrifying than the dozens of sword lights combined. Break! Qin, he stood where he was and grabbed at the void with his right hand. In an instant, a cold light shot out. The cold light collided with the sword light that Ningyu had slashed out. Crack! Along with a clear and melodious sound rang out. The cold light and the sword light shattered at the same time and dissipated between heaven and earth. 2.5 minutes left. After 2 moves, Ningyu took a step back and calculated the time secretly. The violent dragon elixir only had 3 minutes of effect. Now, half a minute had passed. In other words, Qin He's current strength could only last for 2.5 minutes. Once the time passed, Qin He would even show signs of weakness. It seems that I have to use my big move to deal with you. Qin He took a deep breath and looked at Ningyu expressionlessly. He said, You can force me to use my big move. Even if you are defeated by me, you should be proud. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Qin He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood instantly burned in the air. After a while, the blood turned into a cloud of blood mist. Go! Qin He's soul power surged, controlling the cloud of blood mist to attack Ningyu at an extremely terrifying speed. The blood mist was so fast that it almost reached Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, when the blood mist arrived in front of Ningyu, it suddenly exploded. Countless tiny blood beads appeared and surrounded Ningyu from all directions. Ningyu, I will ask you for the last time. Surrender or not. Chapter 2554. Chapter 2554. Chapter 2554 Victory. 2 more minutes. Ningyu did not care about Qin He's threat. To him, as long as he could hold on for 2 more minutes, he could easily defeat Qin He. Under such circumstances, no matter how Qin He threatened him, he would not act rashly. After all, if he could defeat Qin He easily, why would he go through so much trouble to fight? If he was injured by Qin He, would he not even have tears to cry? You're courting death. Ningyu's indifferent behavior enraged Qin He. With a thought, he controlled countless tiny blood-colored beads and sent them flying toward Ningyu. Chi! Chi! These tiny beads were very fast, and they approached Ningyu in an instant. Slash! It was a critical moment. Ningyu waved the red devil sword continuously, fighting against these tiny blood-colored beads. Although the blood-colored beads were very powerful, the sword gleam that Ningyu slashed out was also very powerful. About a minute later, the blood-colored beads were all smashed by the sword gleam that Ningyu slashed out and disappeared between heaven and earth. I have underestimated you. Seeing the blood-colored beads dissipate, Qin He's face turned very ugly. He admitted that he had indeed underestimated Ningyu. Originally, he thought that after swallowing the violent dragon elixir, he could easily defeat Ningyu. But now, 2 minutes had passed since the violent dragon elixir took effect, and he still could not defeat Ningyu. In fact, he was at a disadvantage. It had to be said, Ningyu's strength was indeed very powerful. However, Qin, he was not particularly worried. After all, the violent dragon elixir was a violent dragon elixir. The moment before the effect of the elixir disappeared, it could erupt with a terrifying energy. The reason why Qin he was so at ease was that he felt that the energy that would erupt later could defeat Ningyu. Tick, tick, time was ticking away. In the 3rd minute, whether it was Ningyu or Qin He, both of them were paying 100% attention. For Ningyu, as long as he could survive this 1 minute, he would be able to defeat Qin He easily. As for Qin He, as long as he could persist until the end of the 3rd minute, he would be able to unleash his terrifying energy and defeat Ningyu. Die. In the blink of an eye, the 3rd minute passed. A terrifying energy wrapped around Qin He's fist as he threw a backhand punch at Ningyu. On the other hand, Ningyu, unwilling to fall behind, he forcibly swallowed 100 drops of low-grade Great Emperor spiritual liquid and transformed them into energy, which collided with Qin He's attack. The two extremely terrifying energies collided, causing the surrounding void to emit crackling sounds, as if it was about to split open. Fortunately, a high-level quasi-emperor from the Divine Wind Empire stabilized the space. Otherwise, the collision of energy between Ningyu and Qin He would be enough to explode the void and affect the surrounding warriors. Even so, the void still trembled. Some low-level quasi-emperors even prostrated themselves on the ground, unable to even raise their heads. The remaining mid-level quasi-emperors were in a better state. Who won? I'm not sure. In my opinion, it should be Qin He who won. After all, he's a peak rank for quasi-emperor. Humph! Ning, you can even defeat a rank 5 quasi-emperor, not to mention a peak rank for quasi-emperor. What's the commotion about? When the shock waves dissipate, we will naturally know who won and who lost. The surrounding warriors' discussion made a mid-level rank 5 quasi-emperor's expression turn ugly. This mid-level rank 5 quasi-emperor was called Zhao Shui, and he was quite close to Yang Zhaokai. For some reason, Zhao Shui had a feeling that Qin He would be defeated, and this feeling became more and more obvious as the surrounding shock waves dissipated. Whoosh! After a while, the shock waves dissipated. Zhao Shui's expression turned extremely unsightly when he saw the figure still standing where he was. Ningyu. The warrior standing was not Qin He, but Ningyu. As for Qin He, he was lying on the ground like a dead dog, his aura weak. How dare you? Zhao Shui first stared at Qin He. Then his gaze landed on Ningyu, and he said viciously, "You guys were just exchanging pointers, and you actually dealt such a heavy blow. Looks like you can't be spared today." Whoosh! As he spoke, Zhao Shui's feet stomped on the ground, his body speeding out. Not good. Seeing Zhao Shui attack, Ning Lu and Ao Xing's expressions changed slightly. Ning Yu had just experienced a great battle, and the energy in his body was practically exhausted. How could he be a match for a mid-level rank 5 quasi-emperor at this time? The two of them blocked in front of Ningyu, one on the left and one on the right. Each of them punched out, colliding with Zhao Shui's fist. Bang! Bang! After 2 punches, Zhao Shui's heart trembled, and he hurriedly retreated. 1-on-1. Perhaps Zhao Shui could easily defeat Ning Lu and Ao Xing. But 1 against 2, he had no way of winning in a short time, according to the Emperor's words. If Ningyu defeated Qin He, Yang Yeming would be the crown prince. At this time, if he lost the chance to kill Ningyu, he could not make another move. After all, he already felt the aura of a few rank 6 quasi-emperors locked onto him. Yang Yeming was the crown prince. There would definitely be rank 6 quasi-emperors seeking refuge with him. I'll remember. Ningyu swept a glance at Zhao Shui and said to himself, just a mid-level rank 5 quasi-emperor. As long as he had some time, when his cultivation advanced to late-level rank 3 quasi-emperor, he naturally would not fear Zhao Shui. Buzz! Right at this time, the void trembled and the emperor appeared. The emperor's expression was calm, not showing any joy or anger. He said, Yang Yeming is the crown prince. Yang Zhaokai can go to the divine wind pool to cultivate for a day. Next, Yang Yeming will follow me to meet a few people. Whoosh! The emperor did not stay here for long. He leaped up, speeding into the distance. Halfway through the flight, the emperor seemed to have received some kind of message. He stopped in midair, turned back to look at Yang Yeming, and said, Bring your aides along. Yes. Yang Yeming responded and hurried to Ningyu's side, saying many thanks. It's fine. Ningyu waved his hand and said, Do you know what the emperor wants you to do? The Divine Wind Empire has a total of 2 divine wind pools. Yang Yeming lowered his voice and said, The divine wind pool that Yang Zhaokai went to is the outer pool. The effect of cultivating there is not very good. We should go to the inner pool. Cultivating in the inner pool for an hour is more effective than cultivating in the outer pool for a day. Outer pool, inner pool. Ningyu frowned slightly. This was the first time he heard that the divine wind pool had an outer pool and an inner pool. Shaking his head, Ningyu did not think too much about it. The inner pool and outer pool should only be open to the princes and crown princes. He, Ninglu, and the rest would probably not be able to enter. Let's go. Don't let the emperor wait too long. Yang Yeming's figure flashed, and he followed the emperor. Ningyu, Ao Xing, and the rest hesitated slightly, then followed behind Yang Yeming and disappeared. Crack! After Ningyu and the others disappeared, Yang Zhaokai clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. A cold look appeared on his face. Let's wait and see. Yang Zhaokai's expression was cold. In his heart, he had already sentenced Ningyu, Yang Yeming, and the others to death. Chapter 2555. People from the sacred mountain at the edge of the divine wind pool. The emperor pointed to the pool in front of him and said calmly, This is the divine wind pool. You can cultivate in it for 2 hours. Come and see me at the divine wind hall after 2 hours. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the Empyrean emperor's figure flashed, and he disappeared into the void. Let's go! As soon as the emperor disappeared, Yang Yeming leaped into the divine wind pool. Splash! After Yang Yeming jumped into the pool, Ningyu could clearly see the pool water around him entering his body. The effect is indeed not bad. Ningyu nodded lightly. At this rate, Yang Yeming would be able to reach the peak of the 3rd tier quasi-emperor realm in less than 2 hours. The divine wind pool was indeed worthy of its reputation. Let's go too. Ningyu did not hesitate for long, and he also jumped into the divine wind pool. Beside him, Ao Xing and Ninglu also followed closely behind Ningyu and entered the divine wind pool. As soon as they entered the divine wind pool, Ningyu felt a large amount of energy entering his body through his pores. This energy was extremely pure, so pure that it was terrifying. I wonder if I can absorb them into the red demon sword. With a thought, Ningyu began to control this energy and quietly transfer it to the red demon sword. There's a chance! Suddenly, Ningyu's heart leaped with joy. Without a doubt, in the divine wind pool, apart from the 4 of them, no other magic treasures could absorb energy. However, the energy could be transferred to the magic treasures after passing through their bodies. This also prevented a situation where a large amount of energy was wasted. After all, maintaining the divine wind pool required a lot of resources. I'd better make a breakthrough first. Ning Yu did not continue to transfer energy to the red demon sword. He took a deep breath and began to absorb energy to cultivate. The higher his cultivation, the faster he could absorb energy. It was clearly unwise to waste time on the red demon sword now. At this time, he had to focus on cultivation. It would be much faster to absorb the energy after breaking through to the next realm. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. Ningyu and the others could stay in the divine wind pool for 2 hours. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly emerged from Ningyu's body. Late third rank Quasi-Emperor. In half an hour, Ningyu broke through to the late third order Quasi-Emperor realm. On the other hand, Yang Yiming had advanced from the peak of the second rank to the middle of the third rank. As for Ao Xing and Ning Lu, they were still at the peak of rank 3 Quasi-Emperor and had not advanced to rank 4 Quasi-Emperor. Time was still passing. When it was the second hour, Yang Yiming's breakthrough speed had clearly slowed down, and he had only advanced to late third order Quasi-Emperor. Ao Xing and Ning Lu were still peak rank 3 Quasi-Emperors. Ning Yu's cultivation had reached peak late third rank Quasi-Emperor, but there was still some distance to go before he could become a peak late third rank Quasi-Emperor. The higher the level, the harder it was to advance. Rumble. Time flew. When there were only 10 minutes left before the 2 hours were up, for terrifying auras were emitted from Ningyu and the other three, Yang Yiming had advanced to the peak of the third rank Quasi-Emperor. Ning Lu and Ao Xing had advanced to the early fourth rank Quasi-Emperor. Ning Yu had also advanced to the peak of the third rank Quasi-Emperor. In the remaining 10 minutes, Yang Yiming and the others did not continue to cultivate but chose to stabilize their cultivation. After all, their cultivation had increased so much in such a short time. There would definitely be a situation where it was superficial. The last 10 minutes could be used to stabilize their cultivation to prevent qi deviation. Compared to the others, Ning Yu did not need to stabilize his cultivation. He used the last 10 minutes to frantically devour energy. At the very least, he could store the energy in the red demon sword. On one hand, it could help the red demon sword to refine it, and on the other hand, it could be used as a backup plan. After advancing to the peak of the third rank Quasi-Emperor, Ning Yu's strength had a qualitative leap. Originally, he could barely win against an early fifth rank Quasi-Emperor if he used all his trump cards. But now, if he encountered an early fifth rank Quasi-Emperor again, he only needed to use his martial strength to crush him easily. During this time, Ning Yu did not cultivate the god of war transformation or the great Tao of devouring. After all, time was limited. If he could stay in the divine wind pond for another day, Ning Yu would definitely cultivate the god of war transformation and the great Tao of devouring. The last 10 minutes passed very quickly. Time's up. After 10 minutes, a deep voice rang in Ningyu and the others' ears. Following that, Ningyu and the others felt their bodies lighten, and they left the divine wind pond and arrived at the edge. High-tier Quasi-Emperor. Ningyu had a grave expression. He could clearly sense that the cultivator who moved him out of the divine wind pond was at least a 7th rank Quasi-Emperor. Let's go to the divine wind palace. After 2 hours of cultivation, Yang Yiming felt as if he had become a whole new person. Not only had his cultivation reached the peak of the 3rd rank Quasi-Emperor, but even his aura had changed. It was as if Yang Yiming had experienced many things. Ning Yu did not ask anything. Everyone had a trump card. If Yang Yiming did not say anything, he would not ask. At the same time, inside the divine wind palace, the Emperor sat at the head of the table, and to his left sat 3 young cultivators. These 3 young cultivators all had terrifying cultivation, and each of them was a 6th rank Quasi-Emperor. As for the Emperor's right, there were also 3 young cultivators. Relatively speaking, the young cultivator on the emperor's right was much weaker than the one on the left, and his cultivation was only at the peak of the 5th rank quasi-emperor. At this moment, a young cultivator dressed in white on the left looked at the emperor and said, "Divine Wind Emperor, these 3 cultivators have exceeded the age limit. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for them to participate in the Holy Mountain Conference. Moreover, the emperor only gave 1 quota. You, haha, I know about the quota." The emperor smiled and waved his hand. "The 3 of them will not participate in the Holy Mountain Conference, but will escort the crown prince along the way." Could it be that the emperor does not trust us? The white-robed cultivator's expression changed, and he asked in a low voice, "It's not that I don't trust you, but it's customary," the emperor said calmly. Even though the emperor had the cultivation of a high-level quasi-emperor, he did not dare to force these 3 young cultivators, because they came from the Holy Mountain, and the Holy Mountain was a superforce with a great emperor ruling over the 100 forest domain. Even if the emperor was given 10 guts, he would not dare to be disrespectful to the people of the Holy Mountain, unless he could take the final step. Of course, he was only a high-level quasi-emperor now, and there was a huge gap between him and the final step. Since the emperor has decided, it's not our place to say anything. Chapter 2556. Chapter 2556. Chapter 2556. Ruthless. Oh! The emperor raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion, "Why are you bringing them away? Could they be related to the Holy Mountain?" Divine Wind Emperor. The cultivator in black said seriously, "This concerns the internal affairs of the Holy Mountain. I hope the emperor will not get involved." "I was just asking casually," the emperor said with a shrug. "Oh, right. I will only give you 4 slots this time. Aside from His Highness the Crown Prince, I will also let him bring 3 followers. Let's make it these 3 peak rank 5 quasi-emperors." The cultivator in black looked at the 3 peak rank 5 quasi-emperors opposite him and said indifferently. However, as soon as the cultivator in black finished speaking on the Holy Mountain side, the last young cultivator in blue said, "There's no need. Let Ningyu and the others go. The slots for the Holy Mountain Conference are limited. Even if they are followers, they cannot be brought casually." Swish! The emperor's expression changed slightly when he heard the cultivator in blue's words. He arranged for 3 peak rank 5 quasi-emperors to go with Yang Yiming. Not only could they keep an eye on Yang Yiming, but they could also help him gather information about the Holy Mountain. However, the blue-clothed martialist's decision had disrupted his plans to a certain extent. At this moment, 4 figures appeared in front of the Divine Wind Palace. "Come in." The emperor's face lit up when he saw the 4 cultivators suddenly appear. Then he said calmly, "These are the outstanding talents of the Holy Mountain. Go and greet them." The cultivator in blue frowned slightly. To be honest, the emperor's behavior was somewhat abnormal. There must be a reason for this abnormality. If they did not give up more slots today, there would be some trouble. These Holy Mountain envoys did indeed have many slots. However, it was hard to appease everyone. You want me to give up more slots, and he wants me to give up more slots. Even if there were many slots, they could not afford to go through so much trouble. The cultivator in blue did not reveal anything on the surface, even though he thought so. At most, 1 slot. The cultivator in blue looked at the 3 peak rank 5 quasi-emperors opposite him and thought to himself, giving up 1 slot together with Ningyu and the other 2, and Yang Yiming, that would be 5 slots. Wasting 5 spots on a country like the Divine Wind Empire was indeed not worth it. However, when the blue-clad cultivator thought about the additional rewards for bringing Ningyu and the others back to the Holy Mountain, he felt relieved. "Greetings, envoy of the Sacred Mountain. Yang Yeming said, as if he was very familiar with her. You. The blue-clothed martial artist did not pay attention to Yang Yeming at first. After all, Yang Yeming was just a crown prince of the divine Wind Empire. However, for some reason, he found something unusual about Yang Yeming. Yang Yeming's temperament was very similar to a person. Very similar. Although that person was a woman, their temperament was not much different. How about this? The sovereign emperor did not notice the change in the blue-clad cultivator's expression. After thinking for a while, he said, "The matter of the slots is very important. In my opinion, let Ningyu and the others exchange pointers with these rank 5 quasi-emperors. Whoever wins will go to the Holy Mountain." The sovereign emperor had deliberately concealed his peak rank 5 quasi-emperor cultivation, only saying that he was a rank 5 quasi-emperor. Ever since Ningyu and the others came out of closed-door seclusion, the sovereign emperor determined Ningyu and the others' cultivation. Peak rank 3 quasi-emperor and rank 4 quasi-emperor. Ningyu was a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. Ning Lu and Ao Xing were rank 4 quasi-emperors. With this cultivation, the chances of winning against a peak rank 5 quasi-emperor were practically zero. He said this in order to create a false impression for Ningyu and prevent Ningyu from being unwilling to exchange pointers. Sovereign Emperor, this is not too appropriate, right? The blue-clad cultivator's expression changed slightly. The sovereign emperor was clearly giving him a difficult problem by doing this. Exchange pointers? What a joke! Even if he believed in the emperor's selection criteria, how could these rank 3 and rank 4 quasi-emperors possibly win against a peak rank 5 quasi-emperor? There's nothing inappropriate about it. Let's ask Ningyu and the others for their opinion first. The sovereign emperor smiled faintly and looked at Ningyu, asking, "What do you think? The Holy Mountain slot is of great importance. Anyone who can go to the Holy Mountain will advance rapidly in cultivation. As long as you can defeat these rank 5 quasi-emperors, you can go to the Holy Mountain." Do you think I'm a fool? Ningyu did not reply immediately. Instead, he inwardly slandered the sovereign emperor. A peak rank 5 quasi-emperor was extremely powerful. Even if he advanced to peak rank 3 quasi-emperor, his chances of winning against a peak rank 5 quasi-emperor were not high. Unless he could improve further and reach the half-step rank 4 quasi-emperor realm. Glancing at Ao Xing and Ning Lu, Ningyu felt that they were about the same as him and should not be able to defeat a peak rank 5 quasi-emperor. At this thought, Ningyu said, "Sovereign Emperor, our strength is low. I'm only a peak rank 3 quasi-emperor. Hear this." The sovereign emperor interrupted Ningyu and casually tossed out 3 blood-red fruits. Swish, swish, swish. Ningyu, Ning Lu, and Ao Xing each caught a blood-red fruit. A peak early-stage emperor fruit. Looking at the blood-red fruit in his hand, Ningyu was finally moved. In order to scheme against him, the sovereign emperor had gone to great lengths and even took out a peak early-stage emperor fruit. You can refine this fruit here. It won't be too late to spar after you're done. The sovereign emperor said, "Then we won't refuse." Ningyu sat down cross-legged and tossed the fruit into his mouth. Beside him, Ning Lu and Ao Xing did the same. They tossed the fruit into their mouths and began to cultivate. Interesting. The cultivator in blue looked at Ningyu, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He muttered, "The person that the emperor values is indeed extraordinary. I wonder how strong he is." Ao Xing was a true dragon, and Ning Lu was a world tree. The cultivator in blue had heard this news from his elder brother. As for Ningyu, he was an ordinary person. Ao Xing and Ning Lu had to be brought to the Holy Mountain because they were very important. But Ningyu, an ordinary person, was singled out by the emperor. This was enough to show that Ningyu was not ordinary. Among the 3 cultivators, the cultivator in white was called Xiejia, The cultivator in black was called Xiahu, and the cultivator in blue was called Zhou Jiahao. All three of them were early stage, rank 6 quasi-emperors. Zhou Jiahao's status was clearly much higher than Xie Jia and Xiahu. Zhou Jiahao, the higher-ups, said that we must bring Ningyu and the others back to the holy mountain no matter what. Xie Jia lowered his voice and said, Ningyu will definitely lose against those peak rank 5 quasi-emperors. The Divine Wind Emperor is determined to make us give 3 more spots. In my opinion, we should just bring Ningyu and the others away. It's fine, it's just 3 spots. Moreover, I feel that Ningyu is not simple. Zhou Jiahao waved his hand. Not simple? Xie Jia and Xie, who were slightly taken aback. Then their gazes fell on Ningyu. Hiss! With one look, the two of them sucked in a breath of cold air, and their expressions turned grave. Chapter 2557. Chapter 2557. Chapter 2557. No objection. After obtaining the 5 emperor-grade medicinal pills from the lame old man, Ningyu now had a total of 7 emperor-grade medicinal pills. After swallowing 3, he still had 4 emperor-grade medicinal pills on him. There were 3 holy mountain heavens prides, and the emperor in the divine wind hall. Ning, you could completely rest assured and cultivate here without worrying about being disturbed by others. After all, the emperor wanted him to spar with those rank 5 quasi-emperors, so he definitely would not play petty tricks. The facts proved. The emperor indeed did not play petty tricks. In fact, the medicinal pills that the emperor gave Ningyu and the others were the most effective medicinal pills of the same grade, in order to let Ningyu and the others advance as soon as possible. About half an hour passed. Boom! A terrifying aura was first emitted from Ningyu's body. Early rank for quasi-emperor. After refining 3 emperor-grade medicinal pills and a peak early emperor-grade fruit, Ningyu's cultivation directly broke through to rank for quasi-emperor. Boom! Boom! Ao Xing and Ning Lu followed, closely behind Ningyu. Both of them were intermediate rank for quasi-emperors. Can we spar now? Seeing Ningyu and the others breaking through, the emperor asked eagerly. Yes. Ningyu nodded and said, 3 against 3 or 1 against 1. Huh. The emperor did not expect Ningyu to be so calm, and for a moment he was somewhat stunned. However, the emperor was a high-level quasi-emperor after all. After a brief daze, he quickly reacted and said, 1 against 1. 3 against 3, there may be accidents. I have no objection. Ao Xing said. I have no objection either. Ning Lu shrugged. Advancing to rank 4 quasi-emperor, Ning Lu and Ao Xing no longer feared peak rank 5 quasi-emperors. Whether it was 3 against 3 or 1 against 1, they could easily win. The first battle. Let Long San fight Ao Xing. The emperor regained his composure and pointed to a stern-looking young man below. Long San spar. Don't overdo it. Yes. Long San stood up, cupped his hands towards Ao Xing, and then rushed out like a sharp sword. I can't believe it. Long San's sudden attack caught Ao Xing somewhat off guard. However, that was all. Ao Xing's right hand clenched into a fist and collided with Long San's fist. Bang! The 2 fists collided. Long San and Ao Xing retreated several steps at the same time. Just from the distance they retreated. Long San and Ao Xing were evenly matched in this strike. Neither could do anything to the other. This sort of situation had obviously exceeded the emperor's expectations. Originally, he thought that if Long San made a move, dealing with the mid-4th order Ao Xing, he would probably be able to defeat him in 1 move. But now, it looked like Long San did not gain the upper hand in the first move. Interesting. The corners of the emperor's mouth curled up in disdain. Although Long San didn't gain any advantage in his first move, he wasn't worried at all. After all, Ao Xing was temporarily unable to make up for the difference in cultivation. A peak rank 5 quasi-emperor and a middle rank 4 quasi-emperor. It would be very difficult for Ao Xing to win if this continued. Rumble. The battle continued. The battle between Ao Xing and Long San was full of highlights. After his cultivation recovered to middle rank 4 quasi-emperor, Ao Xing could already use some trump cards. How powerful was Ao Xing after using his trump cards? Strictly speaking, if it was really a life and death battle, Ao Xing only needed 1 minute to kill Long San domineeringly. However, before Ao Xing and Long San exchanged pointers, Ningyu quietly told him not to end the battle too quickly. There was no other reason. Since the emperor thought of such a method, it showed that he very much wanted Long San and the rest to go to the Holy Mountain to participate in that whatever Holy Mountain conference. And looking at the intentions of those 3 martial artists, it seemed like they did not intend to let Long San and the rest go. All in all, it was more chaotic. Under such circumstances, it was best to appear evenly matched and defeat Long San with a difference of 1 move. Ao Xing did this and accomplished it. After fighting with Long San for a full 10 minutes, Ao Xing finally caught hold of Long San's flaw and sent him flying backward. Damn it, Ning, you clearly noticed. When Long San was defeated, the emperor clenched his fists tightly, his expression extremely unsightly. Although the emperor quickly returned to normal, Ningyu's sharp perception still caught it. I have to leave the Divine Wind Empire as soon as possible. Ningyu secretly made up his mind. Before his cultivation broke through to high-level quasi-emperor, no matter what, he could not return to the Divine Wind Empire. This time, he had helped Jiang Yeming obtain the crown prince position and gained many benefits. In the 2 hours of cultivation in the Divine Wind Pool, not only did his cultivation rise to peak rank 3 quasi-emperor, but he also absorbed a large amount of energy and stored it in the Red Demon Sword. As for Ao Xing and Ning Lu, they also gained many benefits, and their cultivation rose to early rank 4 quasi-emperor. What was more exaggerated was that they also swallowed and refined the fruit given by the emperor, and their cultivation improved further. He advanced to early rank 4 quasi-emperor, while Ning Lu and Ao Xing advanced to middle rank 4 quasi-emperor. Ao Xing wins. Zhou Jiahao casually glanced at the emperor and said indifferently, "In the second match, let Long Air and Ningyu exchange pointers." In truth, Zhou Jiahao's arrangement was to help Ningyu. After all, the difference in strength between Long Da and Long Air was quite big. Long Air was a peak rank 5 quasi-emperor, while Long Da was comparable to an ordinary half-step rank 6 quasi-emperor. Of course, it was not that Long Da's cultivation had reached half-step rank 6 quasi-emperor, but that he had some items on him that could let him burst out with the strength of a half-step rank 6 quasi-emperor. In the second match, let Long Air and Ning Lu exchange pointers. The emperor naturally had to stop Zhou Jiahao's arrangement. From the exchange between Ao Xing and Long San, the emperor had already figured out some things. Ao Xing and Ning Lu were not to be trifled with. Rather than that, it was better to let Long Air and Ning Lu exchange pointers. Even if Long Da lost in the end, he would have Long Da to back him up. The emperor did not think that Long Da would lose. With the trump cards on Long Da, even a half-step rank 6 quasi-emperor would not dare to say that they could defeat him. What do you think? Zhou Jiahao's expression changed slightly, and he turned to look at Ningyu and Ning Lu. Who is the second one? I'll do it. Ning Lu glanced at Long Da, then at Ningyu. Then he stepped forward and said, I'll spar with Long Air. Ning Lu was clearer than anyone about Ningyu's strength. Among the 3 of them, Ao Xing had some trump cards, and his strength might be able to contend with Ningyu. However, if he really fought to the death, he might not be able to win. It was more conservative to let Ningyu exchange pointers with Long Da. I have no objections. Ningyu shrugged. Actually, in Ningyu's heart, whether he sparred with Long Da or Long Air, He would definitely win in the end. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.